Welcome to the Independent Characters, episode 229. This is Carl.
This is Josh.
And today we are going to be bringing you our 2023 year in review.
And what a year it has been.
Holy smokes. So I kept like every email I ever received from Games Workshop in one folder so that I could just go through and populate this thing. Real quick, our entry music, there's like that one part with the drums where he hits the cymbal. That's my buddy Dan. Like that's all from his previous band.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, he just gave us all the tracks. He's like, here, you can
do whatever you want
without the lyrics and stuff. And I was like, it was a punk band down in Southern California. He's in another one now, but yeah, I really dig that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know why that was, because I always sit there and kind of bop my head to it. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to go through pretty much everything that came out this year. We may have left, as I went through and picked some things, I'm like, oh, dice for, you know, like we're going to leave some of the...
Yeah, still 40K focused, but we do mention some Age of Sigmar stuff.
A few things of Age of Sigmar here and there if it piqued our interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get to all that. Before we launch into that, though, let's talk about our Patreon members who we've selected as the producers of this episode. And that is Andy Pearson and Kevin McCormick. Again, if you're interested in our Patreon and helping support us like Andy and Kevin are doing, we would greatly appreciate it. You can find links to that on our website at theindependentcharacters.com. Or you can just go to Patreon and look for the Independent Characters. So we really do appreciate it. It's helping us kind of bring this to you and deliver great content.
Yeah. Yeah. Huge thanks to the both of them, but also everybody else who supports us on Patreon.
You guys are the best.
Yeah.
I mean, we love all of our listeners. But come on.
But especially you.
Yes, you can buy our love. No, but seriously, if it's something you want to do, and you're having difficulty figuring out where it is, let me know. But I think we got links everywhere. So let's talk about Elite Choice. Let's just leap right into Elite Choice. I'll go ahead and go first.
Yeah, kick it off.
You. And you and I went back and forth on this because he posts a lot of stuff. He posts a lot of stuff here because he is a commission painter. He's also a friend of mine. But I consider a lot of listeners friends of mine, so I can't like use that as a differentiator. Yeah. But I've also used his service, and that's David Roberts from Dave Paints. And the reason he's clearly working on an Ultramarines commission right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love Ultramarines, and
they look so good when done well.
Oh my God, he has done them so good. I mean, this is, I think it was the final one that he just posted, which was the Terminator Captain and the Librarian. And I was just like, okay, I got to mention this because he's just blowing through these things. And Dave has like unlocked the code for commission painters.
Right.
He paints very fast to a very high quality. It's not now. And when I'm talking high quality, like if you were to compare him to Colin Ward, who painted my Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
Like David doesn't paint to that level of quality, but what he's done that's brilliant is he knows where to focus your eye. Yeah. He knows what to paint and what he can kind of
still high quality,
get away with.
Kind of, I don't know what you allude to some of the detail versus having to actually go in and do the manual brushwork.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really apparent in the basing he typically does too. And in fact, I've stolen the way he does the basing because it really is just kind of for the ones I'm doing, it's brown and then a lighter brown and then a dry brush of like almost white, but it's almost a spotlight effect on the model.
Yep.
And so, I mean, look, he painted up all shells at Eldar. He painted up my demons. I've used him twice as a commission painter. He's fantastically fast and easy to work with. Like we go back and forth over this stuff and then not even that, once I wanted to do some of Shell's Eldar stuff, he was like, here's the paints I use. Here's how I did it. So he helped me.
Yeah. No hard requirement of you going back to him in order to add anything to that army.
No. Yeah, that's great. If I had the skills, I could do it. And it turns out, I can do it. I'm one of those guys, like I'm a paint by numbers guy. Like if somebody's done it, I can look at how they did it and replicate that.
Sure. Yeah.
unless you're talking like my Reaver Titan and Caleb, but the Ultramarines just look amazing. And man, I do like painting Space Marines. I really do. I know like Jody does not.
Jody does not enjoy painting Space Marines.
No.
They are probably the least favorite thing that I paint.
Is it?
But
I really enjoy it.
They turn out so well at the end that like I never enjoy the process of painting them, but I always enjoy the end result. Like, they look so good.
And here's the thing, like the original Space Marines that I was using from my previous Ultramarines force that I sold off to AJ, who couldn't make it. He was going to join us this episode.
Supposed to join us today,
but has a family issue. And that's just because we're trying to get somebody in here to disagree with us. we listen to the feedback. But I didn't enjoy painting those as much as I enjoy painting Terminators. Like there's something about that little bit of scale difference that made it a lot of fun to paint. Yeah. Which is the same with Primaris Marines.
Definitely enjoy painting Primaris more.
Yeah.
Even though I think there's more edges to them, it's a little bit more accessible in how you get there. It's easier to actually manipulate the brush where it needs to go, and they look good.
I mean, maybe that's it. Like I can just get great results on Marines with, I don't want to say little effort, but like I get better results on painting a Marine than painting Sister of Battle, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's definitely a scale thing for me. So anyway, so that's what I picked. I absolutely love the work he's been doing. This stuff looks amazing. And yeah, keep it up, Dave.
Yeah. Looking really good. Nice.
Josh, what'd you pick?
Yeah, I went with Sebastian Trodson.
They look terrible.
And these are some incredible.
I just got to argue.
Incredible. You're wrong. You can argue all you want, but you're wrong. These are Crimson Fists that he's done an incredible job with.
They look great.
We've got a Blade Guard unit going with the Judiciar, and then also
Judicar?
Judiciar is how I hear. Actually,
really?
The word I hear. Campbell McLaughlin is the person I hear say this word the most, and he says it Judiciar. So I'm going.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
That sounds weird.
It does sound weird, but I don't know.
All right.
It's all made up words anyways.
It is.
And as I think said, and I don't know if it's the last episode or the episode before, like I am the worst at pronouncing made up words. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Sky with this earlier, and he's also saying, cause they're British made up words. So they're intended to be
even worse
with like a British accent and our just flat American accent here is probably butchering whatever it's intended to be pronounced as.
We all know what guy you're talking about.
Yeah. The guy with time and the flat sword.
Yeah.
And some Terminators and a Terminator captain. And these are just incredibly done. I love the edge highlighting is top notch. Yeah. They have a grimdark look to them, even though it's an incredibly clean and well executed paint job. And just absolutely deserved a call out for there, and just nice little attention to details. You got some checker going on power fists, tabards and heraldry and things like that on the Blade Guard. Just a really nice attention to detail and just beautifully executed. So definitely was a worthy call out for me. Even the power weapons, just really nicely done. Man. I always have a struggle trying to get that kind of transition into power weapon like that. It just looks
he's done just a really good job.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some talented people out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Speaking of talented people, what'd you do hobby wise? So what have you been working on?
So first thing that I did was last episode I talked about prepping my Aeronautica Imperialis planes for kind of doing the oil wash tutorial that I was supposed to run with you and Jody. I ended up doing that tutorial with Jody. You were out sick that day, so you didn't end up meeting up with us. And had a good little short hobby session of just walking Jody through oil washing. Listeners, a couple of you have actually talked about wanting to kind of see the behind the scenes footage and getting some of that insight there. There are a ton of videos on that on YouTube, but we will be putting out a video when I actually do walk Carl through.
We're still figuring out a time for that.
That'll happen. Hopefully
it's amazing. It's amazing how you know, I know where my time's been going lately. I'll talk about that in a minute.
So anyways, I successfully finished the oil wash and got those varnished. So all my planes for both Aeronautica and now Legions Imperialis are fully painted, ready to go. Mm-hmm. Got 11 planes, which is a ton of planes ready to hit the table, mostly for Legions Imperialis. Let's be honest here. Yeah. Speaking of which, I've been building and painting like crazy just for Legions Imperialis. Like
And got your stuff. I mean,
I got my stuff, got the book, got the cards. I got the starter box for that, and I traded half of that starter box away for another half. So I'm going pure Astartes with this one. I didn't want to do the mixed faction of Solar Auxiliary and Astartes and Titans. I really just I wanted Astartes and Titans, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that for me, I guess just represents 1,000 Suns a little bit better, especially since I have Zestobiax. We're really only present on Prospero. So I'm kind of building that Prosperity. I don't know how to say it. Just that kind of defense force. And with Legions Imperials, someday I would love to absolutely, recreate the Battle of Prospero almost as a historical war game kind of approach to it with, Space Wolves and Mortis and some Legio Sinister and stuff like that, actually assaulting the planet and playing that out, which would be fun, I think, especially whenever Legions Imperialis ends up releasing the Primarchs.
Do you get that Psi Titan with your force?
I don't. So that's Loyalist only.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
It
seems like perfectly fit for your.
So that's a big part of why I ended up leaning into the Corrupted Titans for Titanicus.
Makes sense.
Because they did have access with that, and the Thousand Suns influence with Zestobiax was pretty prominent, but not in the Psi Titan, because Legio Sinister is exclusively Loyalist, and they're the only ones that get those Psi Titans.
Right.
In game terms and in the expanded lore. Like they were really only ever took place in on Terra, Battle of Terra, and Prospero are really kind of the two spots that they're known.
Interesting.
There may be more that I'm not aware of, but
sure there were.
Yeah. So anyways, I've been got two halves of the starter boxes built. I've got one half of that painted. Jeez. Not completely, but all like the reds are done, and starting working on the details.
You said you were ready for this.
I'm in. And here I am.
Clearly you are.
Yep. I picked up a box of rhinos, got all the reds are done on those. So the rest of those will be done pretty quick. And also a box of the Kratos tanks.
Yep.
So just.
Yeah. I also picked up the rule book, picked up a box of Kratos tanks and a box of rhinos. Nice, I sold some stuff off I'm trying to maintain neutrality in my spending budget at the moment. So I sold off some stuff and I was able to pick those up. Obviously the infantry are sold out everywhere at the moment. So I'll have to get back to that, but I have stuff to work on. It's fine. But speaking of, is that, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's what I've gotten.
Yeah. I mean, that's the bulk of what I've been doing. It's just really, I have been doing a lot of 3D printing also. I did mention this a little bit last time, but the tokens that come in the box set for Legions Imperialis are kind of chintzy, not even cardboard. They're like
thick card stock,
like a slightly heavier card stock.
That's lame.
The biggest complaint I have about that box set is that
I've seen other people complain about that.
It's not a great quality component. Over the lifetime of the game, like those things are just going to disintegrate. So I've actually been 3D printing in resin. It's a 3-part thing where I've got the Thousand Suns icon on one side, the Order on the other side, and they go together in this cool ring. It's all 3D and embossed. It just looks really cool, and they've printed out really well. So I'll have those painted up pretty soon here too, hoping to get a game in the near future.
Yeah. It sounds like you're about
chomping at the bit.
I can tell. I remember your post, you were telling Jody, you're like, well, I've read through the rule book, and Jody's like, read through the rule book. But that's you. That's how you remember things. Like, I'll have you teach me.
Yeah.
That's how I learned. When I tried to learn Adeptus Titanicus, I was like, this is awful. Like, I can't understand. And because I also wasn't thinking, you have the terminals. And And then once I played a couple games, I'm like, got it.
And I think this game does a pretty good job in the rule book. Like when we'll do an episode in this in the near future, but
that rule book is a lot thicker than I expected.
It's got a lot of content in it. There's a ton of missions.
Yeah.
There's lore in there. There's rules for both armies, for Astartes and Solar Auxiliary. Tons of images, color plates, things like that.
Nice.
And the game, while I think it plays pretty simply, there is a lot of depth and nuance to it at the same time. So.
Well, let's play a couple games, then we'll do an episode on it.
Absolutely.
I'm mad at you for dragging me into this. I wasn't going to do it. I was not like...
You'll thank me later.
The models are really cool looking though. They're really cool looking. I'm going to be doing Sons of Horus to go along with my Titan Legion. So
fitting.
Oh, that's, and I've always wanted to do Sons of Horus. And this is like a perfect
It's such a great looking color scheme.
It's a beautiful color scheme. Yeah. So, other than that, I was working on some of my Black Legion guys, and then I started working on Abaddon just because I needed something to keep me going. I'm probably about halfway through Abaddon. I'm taking my time. I posted a couple pictures.
It's looking great.
I really want to make sure he's coming out well. I'm trying some of the techniques that Caleb taught when he was over here with Shell and I. So, So, I mean, I'm happy with the way he's coming out. I need to figure out what to, cause he has like, that rack of skulls and stuff behind him.
Yeah.
And one of them's a Space Marine helmet. He's standing on a Space Marine, and I'm trying to decide what chapter to paint that Space Marine. And somebody said I should do him Shark-Sharkadons.
You should do a Shark-Sharkadons.
I might.
No.
I might.
You can't kill us.
The problem is it's gray.
It is gray. But it's gray and white with some blood effects on there, black lenses. It does look good.
It could be. But I think it needs like a splash of another color is my problem.
Yeah, the classic that I've seen there
red.
are red or blue.
Yeah.
Which they do really stand out well.
Blues, and he has no blue on him right now.
Red will blend in with the cloaks potentially.
That's my,
because he's got the tabard and kind of the cape, right?
I was thinking either blue for what used to be my Ultramarines or green for Jeff Salamanders.
Yeah, there you go.
So
yeah,
I'll figure that out. But I'm working on him in stages. I'm about to get to his weapon. So
nice.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's coming out. It's a lot of layers and a lot of time. So I usually don't spend this much time on a model, but I'm really trying to.
It's a big model. He's the big bad of chaos.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do like my best effort on it. Yeah. Sometimes I get a little disappointed on how things come out. Sometimes I get very happy with certain things that have come out. So, it's a mixed bag for me.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it comes out in the end, but that's what I've been working on hobby wise. So actually making some progress. And I'm doing like a nice mix of honestly like traditional painting plus, various speed paint stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, those speed paints are so useful for some stuff. And like his whole cloak was done in speed paint, through an airbrush.
Oh yeah.
Like,
okay.
And then a little bit of brush work on the cloak.
Do you like slap chopped underneath to get the highlights and granularity of the cape? And
I just do a very careful dry brushing. Like it doesn't look like dry brushing when it's done. And then I spray the red through the airbrush, and you get this great fade effect. Yeah. So nice. I'm very happy with the way the cloak is.
I'll have to try that soon.
Yeah. It's great.
Next time we do a hobby day, I'll just put together a test mini and
it's great.
Give it a test.
I've done it on a number of things too. So it's interesting. Like I do a mix of some things speed paint, some things not. The skulls, like I really like the way skulls come out with when you do a slap chop kind of method on that skull, and then use the whatever the color is for the bone. Yeah. Right. Like, and then I touch it up with a little bit of white, just on a few highlights, and I'm like, man, this looks like a really good skull.
That's so great. Nice.
Why mess with the process?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, very happy with the way that stuff is
advertised. Hard to go wrong.
Let's talk games played.
Yeah.
You played anything lately?
I did play one game since we recorded last, and that was a game with Austin Lynn
Titanicus,
of Adeptus Titanicus. Yeah. So this was a 1750 point game of Titanicus. We both brought Axiom Legion, Maniples, which is kind of funny. We were both like kind of laughed from like, oh, I brought an Axiom Maniple, and he's like, oh, I did too, because it's kind of the base starter Maniple. Yeah. Which a lot of us have kind of moved on away from as we've played more and more games. But we were also like, I personally, after playing the last couple of games I've played were with such an extreme list with the 4 Titans, I just wanted to play with a good variety. And I hadn't played with Warhounds in a while because Zastobix actually sees Warhounds as a waste of materials, which I think I've mentioned. But they're so fun to play with.
They overheat fast.
Their reactors are real small.
Yeah. You got to be real careful with their reactors.
But I wanted to play with everything. So I had a couple Warhounds, a Reaver, a Warlord, and some Cerastus Lancers. So just a really fun kind of all around balanced list. Nothing crazy. Yeah. And Austin's list was almost identical. He didn't have Knights. He had he brought a Nemesis Warbringer with the extra points instead of some Knights. And
at some point, that's a model I'm gonna have to get.
They're fun, and I think they're going to be even more useful. And they're really actually a really good all around Titan in Titanicus, but in Legions Imperialis, I think they're actually probably even a better spot for them in general.
Interesting,
just with the weapon loadout that they have. They can do they can use more of that utilitarian kind of stuff that they do, where in Titanicus, having that big gun up top, like it's just hard for them to finish off Titans, and they walk a weird, there's kind of weird mix between a warlord and a reaver.
Yeah.
Which it's fun, but so it's a super fun game. It was really swingy on our dice, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
Like I would get
not like a Vancouver way.
It was not your play on tabletop experience. This was we both had some real highs and lows of dice rolling, but not in a way that really like we felt made or break the game.
Right.
So it made for some really fun moments of he had at the end of the game, he had one Titan left on the board. And I shot him with everything that I had left, and he made 24 out of 27 shield saves, right? So just a really kind of like fun moment, adding to the tension of this last Titan kind of holding on.
We've said it before, but that game captures that kind of tension really well. Even when it's swingy, like it's it seems to always be fun. I mean, it's a very interesting game in that regard.
The first shot, his first volley of fire that he had, I think it was even a first fire, first turn, against my, I think it was against my double melee reaver, because I still brought that because it's fun. I think I failed all the shield saves again, which I was like, okay, here we go again. Like, here's Josh failing all these 3-up saves with rerollable ones immediately out of the gates and just losing Titans to turn one. But that was the end of the bad luck for me on dice rolling.
Just get out of the way early.
Yeah, got it out of the way earlier. Got that guy into combat. He ended up killing the Titan and then getting killed in return. And he blew up, and that triggered another Titan's death. So we got that cool like cascading of engine kills. Nice. Just super fun thematic game, and it's always a great game playing with Austin.
He hasn't been able to play in a long time too.
Yeah.
So all the family stuff he's got going on.
Good. We were able to get together on a Thursday with some flexible schedules and make a game happen. So it was good. Yeah.
Well, I haven't played any Warhammer 40K or Titanicus or anything because my time has gotten destroyed.
What have you been playing, Carl?
By the video game Rogue Trader. So I want to talk a little bit about this because normally I wouldn't talk about like a video game. It is a computer RPG, so CRPG. It takes a lot of inspiration. I would say that's saying lightly. Yeah. From the Rogue Trader role-playing game that we have played.
Yep.
And in particular, it takes place in the Coronis Expanse, which is that setting where they've set that role-playing game for the tabletop version.
Nice, yeah.
And so like they're talking about various families in that area. They're talking about characters that exist in the books that were created.
Canonical lore. Yeah. Neat.
So, so this game has come out. If you're not into computer role-playing games, this one plays very much like Baldur's Gate 2, not the latest Baldur's Gate 3. So it doesn't reinvent the wheel in those regards. But if you're not into that, just skip ahead there because I'm going to talk a little bit about it. There are games that do that well and games that do that not well.
Yeah.
Owlcat Games, which is the producer, I'm actually trying to get an interview with somebody from Owlcat right now for it. Have previously done Pathfinder. The complaints I heard about that was, it's bug laden and yada yada. Software comes out with bugs. Shocker, right? Like I'm a little more forgiving unless they're show-stopping bugs, because I worked in the software industry, not the gaming industry. But no matter what you put out, it's going to have some bugs in it. Now, this unfortunately comes on the heels of Baldur's Gate 3, where Baldur's Gate 3 has just won all these awards and it's considered one of the best computer role-playing games ever. I got to tell you, like, it takes a lot to hold my attention on a game like this. There's another game called Solasta, which I picked up on a lark and loved, like the way it played. And it was basically Dungeons and Dragons rules through the whole thing.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And most games I buy these days, like I don't know if it's my attention span as I got older or just whatever. Like I don't play to the end of the game. It peters out after a while, and okay, I move on to other things. Yeah. Solasta was one of those games where I did it. I told Travis about it, and Travis got it, and we both were like, wow, this is really, really good. Baldur's Gate 3, maybe it's just the timing, like I played through several hours of it, and then it kind of just fell by the wayside. Still installed on my machine. I'm like, I'll come back to this.
Yeah.
It just wasn't gripping me. Like the story wasn't gripping.
Yeah,
me.
Sure.
This game, Rogue Trader, like I'd been looking forward to it for a while, but we all know the history of Warhammer games on computers.
Not so great.
You can't even say it's hit or miss, right? It's hit, miss, hit, miss, hit. Yeah. You know, we have Space Marine 2 just got delayed till the late
sometime
2024.
Yeah.
Space Marine is probably one of the best games. The original Dawn of War was amazing.
The first two.
Yeah, the first two were good. Yeah. 3, I didn't finish 3. Yeah. You know, there are games that just latch into you.
Yeah.
Rogue Trader is one of those games that I cannot stop playing.
Yeah.
It is so good, story-wise, visually. I mean, are there some clunky things about it? Yes, absolutely. And not only that, like it's very crunchy, meaning like you get like a lot of abilities. And this is one of the problems with the tabletop role-playing game.
Right.
You have a lot of abilities and you're like, okay, wait a minute. This works with this, you know? And so every combat you're like, okay, wait a minute.
Because there's a lot of skills, there's a lot of combat abilities, kind of like.
And the combat abilities will be like, okay, you know, when you use this, it reduces the armor of the target creature by 10% and gives you this bonus and gives you that bonus. And you're like, okay, but then this one does, you know.
Right.
So you end up kind of finding the ones.
Whole party of characters.
And you got a whole party of characters.
What, 5 or 6 characters that you need to remember abilities and how they pair.
and you end up kind of latching onto some like standard approaches you use, but every time you're leveling the character up, it's like, okay, what do I pick now? You know, it's very deep in that regard. But what really attracted me to it, if you are into 40K lore, man, this is the game for you.
It really brings it to life.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got me excited about playing tabletop game again. Like, not that I haven't been, but like, I was always like, well, you know, Rogue Trader's okay. There are 4 or 5 games that came out, right? There was Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader, Only War, Black Crusade,
Deathwatch,
and Deathwatch. Yep. Right? And of those, I would say Dark Heresy was my favorite. I played some Deathwatch. Rogue Trader, okay, I've never played Only War. I want to give that a go at some point.
Either, yeah.
And I've not played Black Crusade, even though I really want to. There's some interesting mechanics in there. But I would say Rogue Trader never really like gripped me. Seeing it on the screen and seeing this vision of it really hit home for me. It was I can read about it, but then when you see somebody's visual representation of it and how the story is rolling out and how the characters are interacting, and like every character you add to your retinue like has their own story arc and they want you to go do their things,
connections, their histories.
But it's like, oh, it's so 40K, and it's grim, and it's like,
it should be.
You could be a total jerk, or you could be, you know, a nice guy, or you could be somewhere in between, or
totally open.
Yeah, and nice. There's just visuals that I never really thought of. Let me give you an example. A Rogue Trader has a warrant of trade, I think is what it's called, which is effectively like it's
a hall pass.
Yeah. I mean, it's their ability to go out to the very edge of the galaxy. And that's the other thing this game does good is you feel like you're in like this unknown area and you're like exploring it. But this warrant that they get allows them to operate outside of Imperial boundaries, make decisions that bypass Imperial law, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. They carry a lot of
they get a lot of freedom and flexibility
and political weight.
Yeah.
Right. And the political stuff plays into this game too.
Oh, neat.
And so I always thought, oh, well, that warrant of trade's kind of like a, it hangs on your wall as like a diploma or something, right? There is a scene where you go into where this warrant is kept, and it's kept in like this secured vault, and like you have like the guy has to stick his
hermetically sealed chamber.
The guy has to stick his arm into like a gargoyle mouth, and it like bites down on him and makes his arm bleed, and then it uses his blood to determine the testing. Yeah. And then it opens up this huge vault, and you go in, and the warrant is massive. It's like the size of a wall, and it's like, oh wow,
that sounds like 40K.
That is awesome. Like those kinds of moments really have stuck with me in the game, and to the point where I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I totally get how the role-playing game could work and be super fun. And
so if you were to run the tabletop RPG of this now, you feel like you would be way more informed as a GM of how to
and
put
as
the
a
world
GM,
together.
Like, it's so important as a GM to be able to visualize what you're describing to.
Yeah.
So if you're visualizing in your head so you can explain to everybody else, like, here is what is going on, and here's what this looks like, and here's what the ramifications of these things are. Now I have a much better understanding of that type of existence.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. I have, the day that game came out, I bought it, and I've been playing it nonstop, and it's murdered my hobby progress at this point.
All your productivity.
But I've learned a lot from it too. And it's been really, really cool.
Nice.
Really cool. So listen, if that's the kind of game you're into, I'm not saying it's the perfect game. It's not. Like there's times where you're rotating the camera around and things are blocked, and you have to like, oh, well, I have to look at it from this angle and scroll in so I can see a little bit better. It is just a solid experience.
It brings the world to life in such a fun and interactive way.
So good.
I can't wait to jump into it, but I also, knowing how deep you've gone in that rabbit hole, I really want to have all my Legions Imperialis stuff ready to hit the tabletop before I
I think you are very smart.
I'm exercising a little bit of self-control, knowing that I don't probably jump in pretty deep with
it. I mean, you and I have been playing another video game on our Xbox, but that's not as like deep as this. But I don't know how this kind of game, like, I don't know if you've played these types of games extensively, or if this is your kind of thing.
I have played some of the Baldur's Gate games.
It
played a little
very
bit
much
3.
reminds me of like Baldur's Gate 2 or like Planescape.
I'd say the closest game that I've probably played to that, which is a little bit different, but Knights of the Old Republic, played that several times.
Yeah. Okay.
Of those type of RPGs.
I think if you are a Warhammer 40,000 fan, this game is, you're going to absolutely go nuts about it. Like it's really, really, really good. And it's super grimdark, and like you can go heretical, you can go iconoclast, which is like, let's think about, there's probably a better solution here. And then there's dogmatic, right? Which is just like, no, this is the law, right? And it's, and you have this kind of balance thing you can do between them. And it's not only are you walking around doing that, there's space combat in it too.
Oh yeah.
Like your ship is fighting other ships, and then so there's
void warfare.
And it's not like, that is not as detailed as like the Battlefleet Gothic game that came out, but but it works, and there's strategy, and your ship levels up, and you add more stuff to it. Like the more I go into the game, the deeper it gets.
And ships are a super important part of the Rogue Trader lifestyle. So that's good. They brought that in.
It's fantastic. So anyway,
nice.
That's my glowing review about it. I am, and apparently, and it was $50 on Steam, which for, most games are running $60-$70 these days. It was $50 on Steam. I bought the lowest in one of it. It's fine. And, I feel like I think the reviews have said there's between like 50 and 100 hours of gameplay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I'm like,
so you're almost there.
Like, okay, so the clock on what I've actually played is not accurate, because there's times where I like pause it and I've walked away from the computer for 7 hours, but I've played a lot. And I'm and like every time I've gone on enough about it. If you love 40K, if you love this kind of lore, if like Rogue Traders are not really your thing, you might want to check this out, because it really opened my eyes. There's mostly human on mutant on admech on, what else have I run into? I've run into a few demons here and there, run into one Chaos Space Marine at this point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure plenty more to come.
So the cover art has like a space wolf in your retinue, and I haven't found him yet. Yeah. So I'm looking for him.
Still got more friends to find.
I'm looking for him.
It's a big galaxy.
It is a great game. Yeah, and I'll try to get an interview with somebody from Owlcat so we can get them on and have them talk a little bit about it. But
is it linear or is it pretty open? Not even open world, but open system.
You can go wherever you want, like on the map. I mean, that's challenging too, because warp travel is dangerous.
Right.
And they do this very interesting thing where like, okay, I want to go from this system to this system, and you have a certain amount of points you can use to reduce like the difficulty of traveling between the systems.
Yeah.
But if you travel and it's kind of dangerous, this is a kind of interesting thing where like a Dungeons and Dragons game, you're, I'm riding my horse from here to here. Do I have an encounter on the way? You have encounters, more likely to have encounters if you're traveling a dangerous system, which could mean there's like a demonic incursion
on your ship.
Yeah. Or some like Dark Eldar came on the ship. They're like, how'd they get on here? You know, we don't know,
Webway.
It's crazy good. Huh. It's crazy good.
Yeah. I'm excited.
But. Yeah. Anyway, check it out. And we'll see if we can't get somebody to talk to us a little bit more about it. And then I'll figure out how to run another Rogue Trader game.
Oh yeah. I'd be curious the last one that you ran was fun. We were just,
but it was just like trying to
the intro out for it.
Yeah. This I would go deeper,
but this with your, like, if you have your own information, you're more informed from this. And, especially if it, stirs up the juices and you're not running a module, but you're actually just creating like, let's go do this.
Yeah.
That would be super.
Yeah. Exciting. And I think I would also allow, characters from the other systems in.
Oh yeah.
Like the character I'm playing, like I started this guy who was a commissar.
Oh, fine.
And then he happened to be like, unbeknownst to him, a descendant of this rogue trader. And they're like looking for the descendants to come like take over if they need to. And then it's like, they're like, you're on the ship, and all of a sudden things start happening. But it was like, oh yeah, this guy used to be a commissar. So he's not exactly. And then like you got a guy who used to be like an Imperial Navy guy that's working for him. So I think I would mix in.
Yeah.
Let people play whatever they want.
Systems.
Yeah. I mean, cause that's the really cool thing about being a rogue trader. You don't have to abide by it. So anyway, okay. Enough about that. Let's do this. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about what our goals and promises are for 2024. Hopefully I finish this stupid game by then. and then we're going to start talking about, right from there, we'll start leaping into January, February, March, et cetera. And we'll go through everything that's been launched and what our thoughts are on it and what the hits and misses are. So we'll be right back. All right. And we're back. So we've given some thought to what we want to accomplish in the coming year.
Yeah.
The previous year was kind of shot due to COVID and all that. And then 2023 was kind of, I felt like it was us getting our wheels spinning and then picking up again.
A restart of a year.
Yeah. So let's talk about, we broke this down by quarter. In Q1, what do you want to do?
Yeah, so I've changed my mind a little bit on this. I've been thinking about it. And the first thing I'll say is, depending on what I do in the first 3 months of next year is going to have a lot to do with what events I end up getting into for Adepticon in a couple of weeks once signups are available. Me and Cheyenne are thinking about doing the Long War doubles, which is just a single day doubles 40K thing. Mm-hmm. We were talking, realizing that we both play Marines, we both play Necrons, and we both play Eldar of a flavor.
Right.
So depending on if we get into that event and what we decide we want to go to, that may change. Mm-hmm. Do I want to get Sharks ready to go? Necrons are obviously.
So let's talk about what you think your plans are.
Yeah.
Because, and like if you've ever worked in business, you're always, here's our quarterly plans. And we set an annual plan. And by the end of the year, it looks nothing like it did at the beginning of the year, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because unexpected things are going to happen. But what are you planning?
Yeah. So the highlights would be, I would like to get Sharkadons, 2,000 point fours fully painted of Primaris specifically. Again, I have thousands of points of small Marines, but I have a list that I'm very happy with and I'm building towards. And we'll, once I get past the Legions Imperialis distraction, we'll get back to getting that army like ready to go. I have so much stuff for that army already painted, but would also just want to have a pure Primaris contingent kind of ready to go, which I've been working on. So getting back to that, Legions Imperialis is obviously going to be a big priority for me in the next coming months. Hopefully even in the first, couple weeks of January, I have everything that I own at this point painted and ready to go. And I do have 3,000 points of stuff already, between all the planes at Titan or 2 and all the Marines and tanks and things that I have acquired. Getting that to a fully playable force, and over time I can just do some slow additions to that as they release new things, like the Spartans or like you did with the Land Raiders, things like that. Yeah. So I have a really good core for that, and then I can just kind of slowly add things as they release, which will, it's a specialist game, so it'll probably be once a quarter or so they'll put out, a couple small things. Yeah. So it will be very easy to keep up with it once I get past this kind of big bulk. So Q1 is going to be kind of Sharks and Legions Imperialis. Really do want to start jumping into the Eldar Force too. Okay. And getting that going in anticipation of the codex dropping and kind of things balancing out, and just playing more 40K.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My Q1 was first get a job.
Yeah.
I think I got to get a job. But also continue to push through my first 2,000 points of Black Legion.
Nice.
So,
that's a great goal.
Now, was not going, when I wrote this, I was not doing Legions Imperialis.
We'll see what Rogue Trader and Legions Imperialis have to say about that.
That's right.
There's your next 3 months.
And the thing about the Legions Imperialis thing is I feel like it's quick to paint up.
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, I know you guys are going to be playing it. And so I'm like, oh man, like I have 40K forces. I could play 40K if I need to, but I can't participate in this. So realistically,
that is 100% the reason that the Sharks have got kind of put on the back burners, because I have a bunch of stuff for that army I could already put together, plus so many thousands of points of Necron.
Yeah. So realistically, I mean, like, I definitely want to get this 2,000 points of Black Legion done. It's probably not going to happen in Q1. Some of it will. I'm definitely gonna be done with Abaddon and a couple squads for sure. I've got vehicles done. That's fine. But I'm probably going to end up pivoting to Legions Imperialis once I can get a hold of the infantry squads.
Yeah.
And
there was a second batch of stuff that came back into stock already. So I know a lot of local game stores put orders in, so you should be able to get stuff in the next week or two.
So I got the box with the 10 rhinos in it.
Yeah.
Those look like they go together super quick.
But yeah, they're
so tiny.
So each smoke stack, exhaust stack is a separate piece. So that's 4 pieces, but the rest of the tank is 5 pieces.
Okay.
So I think it's
pretty quick.
It's like 11 pieces, but they go together quick.
Yeah. And they look pretty solid.
Mold line's super easy. It's actually just like the attachments where they attach to the sprue themselves. You don't have to clean them up very much. Cool. They go together well.
All right. Yeah. So I'll get those probably assembled, and I'll have everything prepped so that once I can get the infantry, I can like quickly do a paint job. And I've heard painting those infantry on the sprues is the way to go.
Yeah, so that's how I've got mine going.
That's what I'll do. Q2, eyeless Legions Imperialis, but I think these things are going to bleed into each other. Yeah. So that's why I kind of leap at the Q2. What are you thinking Q2?
Q2 depends on how Q1 goes. Again, with the Adepticon kind of going to pull a little bit of focus for me on what I want to put time into. Q2, I would love to focus on Eldar and actually some Necromunda terrain.
Are you taking any Adeptus Titanicus stuff to
Absolutely.
Adepticon? Yeah.
So
I would be shocked if you didn't.
My kind of pie in the sky, what I'd love to do is I think Titanicus on Thursday, the 40K doubles on Friday, and then Legions Imperialis on Saturday, and then Space Hulk on one of those two.
I'm gonna miss Adepticon so much.
You're gonna be missed too.
I really am gonna miss it. It's
there's only one.
You have to make it. Sometimes you just have to make a difficult decision, and I mean,
you're gonna have such a great time, and
it's gonna be fantastic. Yeah. But I wish I could be in both places at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. Q3. I put down Necromunda models for Ash Waste.
Yeah. Q3 is going to hit off summer. We have a lot of teachers in our local game group here. I would love to run an Ash Waste Necromunda campaign this summer, or summer 2024.
Yeah.
So that for me, part of why I was saying Q2, like actually get some of, I have a ton of Ash Waste terrain already. I haven't started painting it yet because I've been wanting to wait. Oh, say going back real quick to Hobby Progress, one of the things I did order because it hasn't showed up yet was the Palatine Enforcer, the
robot.
Taros.
That thing
the buggy. Which is
the buggy. Yeah.
It's the old what are the Talaran? The Talaran buggy that these guys get to use. So now that this gang is going to have their own kind of bespoke vehicle, Delac, I think they honestly might not be getting one. The way the Warhammer community article came out, I was like, Delac might not be getting one, which I think thematically with the industries that they're in and industries that they're not,
why would they
kind of make sense that they wouldn't, and they'll just use the custom vehicle rules because their tactics cards are coming out. They already have rules that were put out in a community article of how you can actually put your kind of vehicle crew on there, but they're not getting their own vehicle
Interesting.
yet. Which I was surprised that they announced the Enforcer's vehicle before Delac being one of the core house gangs. So anyways, I ordered that one. So I at least have a gang that's fully ready to go with their own vehicle, and like let's make Ashways happen.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm all for it. So that's why I have that in my Q3. What do you got?
So Q3 for me is going to be Necromunda and terrain wrapping that. Yeah, it's funny. And that for me is
stop agreeing with me, Josh.
Getting that summer campaign underway in prep. So yeah, it's for me, it's going to be a lot of terrain kind of leading up right to the start of, I guess that's going to be more of the end of Q2, honestly. Yeah. So we can actually get that summer campaign going. Yeah.
Okay. And then Q4 for me is really going to focus on probably just adding more Black Legion stuff as time has gone on. And hopefully not getting sidetracked with something else at that point. I still have a sister's army that's appealing to me too.
I mean, those models are so great, and that's it. You have already got it. So when you're ready to
when I'm ready to do it, I'm ready to
tackle the paint. There you go, and just kind of slowly work on it. Similarly, I'm going to round out my Elder Force. I would love to have that thing fully kind of just ready to go. I am expecting some new models to drop in Q3. I think is when the new Codex is going to be coming out.
I'm sure.
I would love to see some plastic warp spiders, especially is what I'm 100% fingers crossed for.
Oh boy.
To get that going. And the big thing I would love to do, we'll see if this actually comes to pass or not, but I would love to kind of clear out my backlog. Of what I've got. I've been purging stuff also. Like I have been selling stuff off partially because I'm now self-employed. I don't have that regular salary coming in. I'm doing a bunch of freelance work. So money's great when it's there. And if projects are dry, like I'm not doing a whole lot. So in order to keep funding hobby, that's definitely been helping for that. But also it's just, there's a lot of projects that I've picked up over the years that were, inspiring and exciting at the time. And then something else.
Yeah. There's always something
time, money, something else, etc. Pulls focus. So I am,
it's crazy that there's so much. It's not like for me, it's not that I don't want to do those projects still.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, I've come to the realization that realistically
there's only so much time.
Like after we did the show force for Adeptus Custodes, I was like, oh, I'm going to do a Custodes. Like it'll be small. I could pick it up quick.
Yeah.
And I bought the stuff and it sat there. But and then finally I was like, what am I doing with this? I'm never going to get this thing done. Gave a bunch of stuff to Steve, sold off some other stuff. I was like, forget it.
Yep.
I'll figure out. I'd love to. I'm not realistically going to do it.
I've got my pile of opportunity is pretty focused at this point, and right now it's a lot of Eldar.
I'm going to bring mine down to a focus.
Yeah, so
like I've still got tons of like collectible Space Marines.
Oh sure, yeah.
That I'm like, had to have them.
For me, realistically at this point, if it's not in a list, if it's not something that I am like actively geared up towards painting, then
that's probably smart.
Then it's getting cleared out.
I wish I was that smart earlier in this.
If I, I might lose some money if I end up rebuying a few things later on down the road, but
chances are
it doesn't. Yeah. I'm not going to feel bad about it.
All right.
And chances are slim that's going to happen.
So let's get into 2023.
Yeah.
We can kind of alternate months here.
What a year it's been.
So I'll start off with January.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're coming out of the pandemic for the most part. GW has, like our playing has slowed down clearly.
Yeah.
Games Workshop was still trying to keep interest going, obviously. And they had a great couple of years. I mean, I think people were
pandemic was great for
staying at home and hobbying.
Not great for playing games, but great for getting stuff done.
So the first thing that comes out is Arcs of Omen.
Yeah.
Abaddon.
Yeah.
And they're still doing regular and collector's editions of these books. I stopped buying those collector's editions a long time ago, but and they begin the whole Arcs of Omen story, which we kind of covered in a previous episode. Chapter approved missions for the Arcs of Omen comes out. The Warhammer 40K boarding actions terrain set comes out. This is pretty impressive.
The rules are released for boarding action in that Arcs of Omen Abaddon, which is the reason I picked it up.
Yeah. And the terrain's fantastic.
Yeah, it's an incredible set.
Yeah. Yeah. Not cheap to maintain, but
not cheap to maintain, and it takes a lot of effort to build and paint. I will say there are a lot of mold lines to clean off on that because there's so many pieces to it. But it's a great set.
Bunch of Battle Force boxes come out. Scions of Macragge, White Scars Battle Force Bach, the Storm of Chagoris, Iron Hands, March of the Iron Strike Force, Salamanders, Warforged Strike Force. Most of these are just repackaging of
existing
units,
models.
into groups. No big deal. But new Demon Prince model drops at this point.
Incredible kit.
And I got to tell you, until like a couple weeks ago, I didn't realize it had all the head options.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I had no idea. Like I saw somebody, it may have been Dave Paints, but posted one and I'm like, where'd you get that head? Like what kit is that from? And they're like, it comes with the thing. I'm like, oh
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
I did get a couple bits from that because Brian picked one up. I got the Zinch head for my Corrupted Reaver because he's like, I'm not going to do anything with Zinch. And it was like, oh, like, and again, scale is perfect. Like Demon Princes and Greater Demons work really well on Titans, depending kind of which
incredible
type you're going on. So it's a really incredible kit. And the fact that it has all kind of a little bit of flavor for each god is something special.
Incredible. Yeah, what a kit, man.
Such an improvement from the existing one.
Okay. For 30K, you get, or for Horus Heresy, new Baneblade kit. I guess it could be used in 40K too.
Yeah.
The Baneblade kit, which allows you to build every variant from Banehammers of Stone Swords now.
I actually did not realize that re-released.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't really, originally it was just like a Baneblade and like one other thing, but now you get every variety, every flavor of Baneblade with it. New Rogaldorn and Leman Russ come out that can be built in all variants.
Cool tanks and big tanks.
Let me tell you
that Rogaldorn is large.
I had no idea how strong.
It has 27 guns on it.
I had no idea how strong it was when I went up to Vancouver.
Yeah.
The thing was brutal. And remote control. Yeah. Ursula Creed model gets introduced, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's a cool model.
New kit for Lord Solar Leontis, the new Lord Solar.
That's the guy in the horse.
Very cool.
That's a cool model.
Yeah, I think it's pretty neat too. New Cadian Command Squad. So at the time, Doug was very excited about this.
Yeah.
Because, he had a massive Imperial Guard army, which we have here, and we're figuring out how to get rid of at the moment. But he was super excited to the point where he was like, Doug, I'm going to redo it all.
Yeah.
No, you're not. But I love the,
yeah, a little fresh blood in the well-established Cadian line.
New kit for Cadian Shock Troopers, new Scout Sentinel kit, which is awesome. That's right. Dated. And the Astra Militarum Codex for 9th edition comes out at this point.
That was a short-lived codex.
Yeah.
But not as short as the World Leaders.
Siege of Terra in Black Library, the Siege of Terra Mortis non-collector's edition gets released. Then a map for the Mercury Exultant Kill Zone gets released. Now, I have one of these maps, I don't think this one. I have one of the Siege of Terra maps.
Okay, yeah. I think you got the Ash Waste map too, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I did. I stopped buying that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because I have that map sitting over there on that shelf, still in its box.
Yeah.
Because why? Like, why did I'm also, my hobby's changing to where if it's not something useful, I'm probably not buying it. Like, it's not something that's
less of a collection aspect to it, more of the practical.
Yeah.
Let's use it. Let's display it immediately, or is it a game made or not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a bunch of books come out. I'm not going to go through all the Black Library books, but there's some pretty good ones that come out. There's a special edition of Armageddon that comes out. And again, about the only thing I do sometimes buy are the special edition of Black Library books, and they have to really speak to me. Like, they just announced a new Thousand Sons one, a new Armin one.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I haven't got.
It's a new book or a special edition.
It's a new book
release
and a special edition version of it. Yeah. So
he's your boy.
He's my guy. So yeah. Specialist games: Necromunda, the Ashwaste Nomad Herder, and Dune Scuttler come out. These are amazing,
incredible models.
And then I threw a couple Blood Bowl things in here because the matched play guide comes out, and Nobla, Blackwart, and Scrappa Sorehead, who are star players, also come out.
Just fun to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I always feel like January kicks off. Like, they try to, okay, we're going to kick it off with a bang. I didn't think this was a year where, like, holy smokes, I got to get all this stuff. And some of that could have been where I was at the time. But
looking at the spread, it's actually pretty small. So a little bit of Chaos, a little bit of Marines, a little bit of IG, but not a lot else.
And I mean, look, they're ramping towards 10th edition at this point. We know that now, obviously. We kind of knew it then, but they're ramping towards 10th edition, and that takes them forever to orchestrate and produce and get it. And so at this point in time too, I think things started being out of stock, and people were like, why is everything out of stock? And this conversation carries
ramping up for Leviathan
until June.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk about February, because February actually does hit pretty hard. I think.
Yeah. So following up with the Arcs of Omen series, now we have Arcs of Omen Angron, which has some more rules, some more missions, things like that. Continues that story, which we've talked about a little bit in the past. The new Angron model itself is obviously the big release of
more importantly, the Angron model comes out,
which is yet another Demon Primarch returned to the tables of 40K, which is pretty incredible.
What are your thoughts on the model?
It's nothing groundbreaking or anything like that, but I think it's very fitting for the piece. I think for what it needs to be, what it represents, and who Angron is, I think it reads Angron pretty well. Yeah.
I have to say I was blown away by it.
Oh, okay, cool, nice.
I loved it. I as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I don't play World Wars, and a lot of times, like, these things will come out. When the Lion came out, I was like, that's an incredible model. How am I going to use that? Like, I want it just because it's so cool looking.
Hang it up as a marble statue.
But I'm not going to use it. So, but yeah, I mean, my first thought upon seeing it was, I'll bet Brian's going to be happy.
He is finally working on it now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's he's actually shelved Legions Imperialis until he finishes Angron.
What does Brian think about the Angron model?
I don't know specifically. I think
I'll have to ask him.
I think he's pretty happy with it, though. For me, I think it's such a fitting representation. It's not my favorite aesthetic. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like hunched over but angry, but it's also super muscular. Like, it really works for what it needs to be. It's just not my favorite aesthetic.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I think it's a great piece.
All right.
Continuing on the World Eaters train, we have the Lord Invocatus. Which I'm trying to remember if that's the Juggernaut or...
I think so.
Yeah. Then we have the 8-bound, which are kind of the super-sized berserkers with a little bit of kind of chaos possession in there.
They've been doing the steroids.
They have, the Butcher's Nails has done its work, plus a little warp taint sprinkled on top there. Similar, like, I don't love the aesthetic of these personally. I think they're very fitting for what they are, and they're great. But for me personally, it's just not the aesthetic that I like. And I think it's really the feet. There's like, because we're kind of cloven.
I haven't really noticed the feet
and
so much.
Funny hands.
I think they're very cool when paired with all the World Eaters and stuff.
Yeah.
I think they make, it's kind of the same way I feel about Stormcast. Stormcast. the Stormcast, when I first saw them, everybody's like, "Oh, they're Sigmarines, right?"
Yeah,
they're,
right.
And I was like, "Yeah, they're not that great." And then I was at Warhammer World, and I saw like the whole display of them, and like the whole thing is an army, and I was like, "Oh."
It looks
as an army, it's pretty awesome, And so it kind of won me over. These kind of win me over that way.
Yeah. And again, I think they're super fitting. I think they bring a really nice kind of something different to World Eaters than just Berserkers.
Yeah.
And leaning into that more of like the chaos and demon possession kind of hybrid thing is great. So I'm happy they exist. I just don't love them personally.
We're also. I used to be a Khorne guy. Like I used to.
Yeah.
I was never like hugely into Khorne. I did have a World Eaters army. It was all Forge World stuff. One of the things I liked about it was very simple to play.
Yeah.
It was like, I think at that point, I literally had 3 Land Raiders at one time. And I just raised all 3 Land Raiders forward and guys would spew out of them. And
so my first 40K army ever was Chaos. And I did have a heavy contingent of Berserkers in there.
Interesting.
And then I've also had 2 pure Khorne demon armies over the years between fantasy and 40K. So like Khorne, I do like Khorne, but it's, I don't know.
It's kind of a one-trick pony.
I've moved on. I've evolved.
Interesting.
I like all the tricks.
All right.
So moving on, we've got Killzone, Gallowdark, with Soul Shackle. So this brings out the Adeptus Arbites and the Drukhari, which some people are very excited about.
The Arbites in particular,
I think is a
it was cool.
Yeah, they hadn't been re-released in model form since
They weren't plastic.
They were not plastic.
They were
definitely metal, and they were pretty true to the representation, but obviously modern design and sculpts and things like that. And Soul Shackle added a different component. There was a kind of some new mission types and also some terrain for
the Shadow Vaults terrain.
The Gallowdark kind of set plays.
Yep. Yeah. So they come out with, and then they release separately, like the rules for it and the terrain for it. So you didn't just get it in that box.
So the box did have the identical terrain set, which is a single set of the boarding action terrain, where boarding action is a double set of the Gallowdark terrains. But then it also did have the upgrade sprue that was Soul Shackle specific. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we got Kill Team Into the Dark, which again, these are the rules.
That's the rules.
Shadow Vaults is just the terrain. If you didn't get the box set, you can just get the terrain to bring your,
which is kind of nice. Sometimes they don't make that available, but here they did.
Yeah, it's a nice thing that they've done and they've continued this through the rest of the year for Kill Team stuff specifically. Like,
although sometimes it'll come out like a little bit later.
Yeah, it's due a couple months held back. Let's see. We got new data sheets for the Inquisitors and Assassins in 9th edition. Again, some old 9th edition stuff. We got Castellan and Commissar models get a redo, which they have done a nice job with those.
Yep.
Aegis Defense Line and Defensible Rampart terrain get released.
I think that's re-release.
It's a re-release of the Aegis Defense
Line. They just made them, like those were everywhere for a while, and then
they completely, what was that? Was that 5th edition when Aegis Defense Lines were everywhere and they just kind of disappeared for 5 editions? So they are cool terrain. I think they're more fun as a kind of battlefield theme versus something that you are actually bringing to the fight.
Agreed. Yeah. I have the whole like ramparts thing. And it's all painted up.
Yep.
It's in a box. We hardly ever use it, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
It does look
There's
good.
some weird things in it. There's some weird things with that set. Like so you have this trench line, right? And all along the trench line are dead bodies and skulls and blah, blah, blah that have supposedly accumulated there in the battle. But some of them are like, there's like a dead Imperial Guard body. It's like the torso. And it's kind of near the top, and then it's like stretched it down to the bottom.
Oh,
like
interesting.
It doesn't look right. And you can tell where there's a few shortcuts that were taken.
So it's actually like the cutting and the molding that is distorted there.
I think it's actually the graphic design that they did on it.
Interesting.
Yeah, they just like
Oh, those are just entrails hanging down. But
I'll show it to you sometime.
Doesn't look like that. No. Okay.
Looks like a bad video game effect.
Yep. Sounds good. Let's see. Cadian Bits sprues get released and add cosmetic upgrades to these units.
These are awesome.
And this, I think, is just I could be mistaken on this one, but when the Kill Team released for that had Cadians in there was some upgrades in that Kill Team. So this is now just the sprue for that. I don't
know the answer to that.
I might be mixing something.
I just knew you could buy this and it had, it was just, Doug was excited about this too, because it was like, I'm going to use all this stuff.
Yeah. All the new stuff.
I think I've got those boxes sitting around because he bought them. So,
oh man,
I know.
All right.
I know.
Strike Force Agastus. That's the Space Marine force featuring the Brutalis Dreadnought and all of the Desolation Marines, which are all the kind of missile launcher Marines that are all the rage in the meta at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird release.
Kind of out of nowhere. They only existed there and they did not until very recently, which we'll get to, release them separately. So
it's just kind of weird that there has to be some monetary reasoning behind this, right?
Or timelines changed. Like they released it and it made sense and then something got pushed back. Or
that's a very good point.
Something behind the scenes.
But it was such a weird,
because it is kind of out of the blue, this own thing that was it was a limited release too. Because they were going for crazy money on eBay because that was the only way they were released, and they sold out and didn't come back.
Yeah.
So a one-time quick one. Chaos Space Marines and Tyranid boarding patrols. These are legal to the Arcs of Omen boarding patrol rules specifically, and just kind of they're
just rebundled.
Rebundled kits of existing models.
Yeah. And Black Library releases Siege of Terra, The End of the Death, Volume 1, Book 8, Volume 1.
Yeah.
Which prior to this was supposed to be one book, then it was going to be 2 books, and now it's 3 books. I talked about last episode how it's kind of a slog for me, Book 2. I mean, important things happen, it ends strong, but it's a slog.
You got to get there.
And it's massive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dan did a lot of writing here, but they released the special edition. They released the other editions in all their copies, kind of really quickly together. The interesting thing, and the other point I'll make here is like these books have become, as you've heard me say, very difficult to get at this point.
Right. Yeah.
And so like you need to be there and be lucky to get one. And so it's incredibly stressful when you're trying to complete a collection like this. If I knew then what I know now, I never would have started down this path.
And you can sell them off now and fund so many Legion Imperialis projects.
I probably could. I should maybe consider that.
If you don't,
they are just sitting on my shelf.
If you don't get the last one,
if I don't get the last one, they're gone.
Yeah,
like that's that. But because I'm not going to pay a ridiculous price for the last one. And I won't even sell these at like a ridiculous price, but I will sell them at a marked up price.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think this is interesting because this was under Black Library, but Captain Messenius of the White Consuls gets a special model. He's a character in the Dawn of Fire series. I got to tell you, I mean, I know Justin Hill was excited when his what's her name? I'm trying to think of the female Cadian Leona. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but it's got to be exciting to be an author.
Yeah.
And then see them make a model.
Ursula Creed?
Ursula. It's got to be cool to see them make a model off of your creation. I know when they came out with Sevatar, in Forge World came out with a Sevatar model, Aaron Dembski-Bowden was incredibly excited about that. I mean, that's a great model and character, but it's got to be very fulfilling to see something like that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they also release a Angels of Darkness 20th anniversary edition. That's the Gav Thorpe series of Dark Angels books, and the first founding Adeptus Astartes artwork limited edition book covering imagery of the 9 original Loyalist Marines. This is the kind of thing that I would typically buy in the past, and I kind of steer away from now. I mean, they're still cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did that episode on rare 40K materials, and
Right.
we'll do another because there's a ton of this stuff, but it's just kind of something I've steered away from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Specialist games.
Yeah. Kicking off with Horus Heresy, the Skyhunter Squadrons, which are the jet bikes.
Yep.
Then we've got Horus Heresy, Legions Astartes upgrades. So these are salamanders and word bearer heads and shoulder pads specifically, just upgrading your existing kits. Forge Worlds puts out the last chance to buy Legion specific Contemptor Dreadnoughts, which I agree with your note here is a shame. Those things were so cool and had so much potential.
Yep.
When I was getting into 30K and had that Thousand Suns Contemptor Dreadnought that was like specific, it has like the cartouche up top
awesome.
and like the head. Yeah, it was incredible. And seeing those go the wayside is...
Yeah, and I mean, what they ended up doing, I think, is releasing basically like a torso, to go on the plastic one, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. But that thing was so posable. Like that was one of the best, and probably one of the best selling kits they had in a long time. I'm really kind of surprised. It probably petered off.
Sure.
You know,
yeah.
The purchase of that stuff peters off after a while. So, but yeah, I love those.
Yeah,
love those.
Blood Bowl comes out. Bryce the Slice Campbell, who's an undead star player, releases there. More special star players. And GW announces the March 6th, there will be a price increase on just about everything.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that they gave the forewarning.
Yeah.
So you've got some time, buy it at your current price.
Do you think they see like a quick hit off of that?
I'm sure they do.
They got it, right? Like people run out.
And knowing just how this whole year has gone with limited stock and things like that, like if you bought it then before it got increased and didn't exist, like
double win.
Yeah, that was a good. So I appreciate the announcement from that.
All right.
Thing. Yeah.
So March, let's round out Q1.
Yeah.
March, Games Workshop releases Arcs of Omen Vashtor, and the Vashtor the Arcaphane model comes out as well. What do you think of this model?
That's a great model. I don't
like it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that just to disagree with you.
You're just being contrary.
I feel like maybe it's one of those things that it'll like grow on me over time.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge fan of it.
That's interesting. So I think they actually did a really good job of bringing that Dark Mechanicum aesthetic to life with the, I think better than the existing, any of the kind of the Forge Fiends, Mauler Fiends, things like that. The Demon Engine
I'll
hybrids,
agree with you that.
I think they've done a better job of integrating the two together. Love the like. I found a kit for cheap of this, and this is what I use as kind of the base for my corrupted Reaver bits with the claw and the wings, because those mechanical wings I think are just awesome. Obviously, they're not functional, like you couldn't fly with just mechanical skeletal wings. But like the detail's cool, the scale's cool. I actually like this model quite a bit. I like the aesthetics, and I like the kind of implication of what it might bring in the future.
That is interesting. But like you talk about Dark Mechanicum stuff, I think that there's a particular Dark Mechanicum model. It's a HQ model for 30K that came out a while back, long time ago now.
Yeah.
That model blows my mind. Like this guy, okay. You know, he reminds me of, there was a Forge World model, which I bought, which was it was like a Chaos. It almost looks like a, Dreadnought. I can't remember the name of the model itself. I never used it actually. But it feels kind of like a Necron technology and Chaos kind of thing. And that model also never really super spoke to me.
Yeah.
That's how this guy is. He doesn't really speak to me in whispers or Chaos speak, but not doing that just to argue with you, but I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
Azrael, the Dark Angels model, gets released in Primaris form, and I like that model.
Fantastic. Yeah. Azrael has over the years, every iteration of that model, I think has been fantastic. Like I don't love Dark Angels, but the aesthetic is hard to argue with, like the robes.
Why do you not love Dark Angels?
I don't, dude.
Yeah, see, that's something where I actually
so
I like them.
First part is starting back in second edition. My brother played Dark Angels, so we just had that kind of rivalry there of like, I was
probably why I hate Blood Angels.
I was Black Legion and he was Dark Angels. So like, I mean, which really we were the same at that point because Dark Angels are chaotic. Yeah. I don't know, just there's a really interesting split with Dark Angels and how the 40K lore has taken them, as they're just so obsessed with the Fallen and like doing their own agenda and not doing anything that Space Marines are kind of designed to do. Like I don't know. There's something about them just doesn't call.
All right.
Yeah.
If I were going to do Marines again, I would be hard pressed not to do.
Oh yeah,
Dark
interesting.
Angels.
All right. Well, I'd have a great time killing you.
I bet you would. They continue their boarding patrol kind of repackaging and releases with Gene Stealer Cults, Death Guard, Adeptus Mechanicus, Chaos Demons, all repackaged old models. But the biggest news at this time is that the new edition of 40K is announced at Adepticon.
Yes.
And it was a pretty good presentation.
Yeah.
Were you in there?
Yep.
With me?
Yep.
Yeah. That was when they showed the Lion too.
That's what also when they preview the Lion. Yeah. And the new models that are coming in, Leviathan. Like, yeah, that was actually the most excitement for 40K there had been in, I think, a good while. Was
that Lion model. Yeah. Like when I saw that thing, that's when I was like, I should have done Dark Angel.
That's why you want to do Dark Angels, just for the Lion, which is a great model.
Yeah, it was. I think that was, GW recently did the vote for your model of the year. I think I voted for him. And the reason was,
I'll be shocked if it doesn't win.
Because I remember sitting there and seeing that. And that's one of the few times I've sat there and they've shown a model and I've gone, oh my God, that might be the best looking model.
How do I play this army just because of that model?
Yeah.
And also you have an affinity for Dark Angels.
A little bit. A little bit. But yeah, so that's the biggest news, right? They're going to they announce it's coming. It's going to be later that year. I think they even told us it's probably late summer, mid-year. Arcs of Omen Farsight comes out along with the new Farsight model, which is pretty sick looking model if you're into Tau.
Yeah.
Needed an update.
Yeah, it did.
I did note Black Library releases War Boss by Mike Brooks, which is kind of interesting because it's an orc novel, like from an orc perspective. I haven't read it. I kind of discovered it as I was going through this.
It'll probably be a pretty fun read though.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
And then Specialist Games, Horus Heresy releases the Typhon Heavy Siege Tank in plastic.
Yep.
I have one in resin.
Yep.
This is the problem with all these things that are coming out. I'm like, I have that in resin. Boy, I wish that was plastic at that time.
Yeah.
Because putting it together would have been easier.
Which, it's great to say that Horus Heresy is getting supported in that way, that all these amazing resin kits are being released in plastic, which are easier to get, less expensive, easier to work with. But yeah, there's all the existing stuff is like, it's just feel bad.
That's just me being a little butthurt.
Is yours built?
Yeah, mine's all built.
Okay, well, so good then. Yeah.
What do I care? Legion upgrade kits for Raven Guard and Alpha Legion now come out. Again, these were during the heyday of Horus Heresy resin. Like these were always available. Yeah. So now it's like, I think they're rotating through the stock.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's difficult for them to keep so many SKUs on hand as well.
Yeah.
Necromunda Ashwood Stranger gets released, and Necromunda Lady Hera, the scion of House, and I can never pronounce this because I always want to say Helmoir, but it's Helmar.
Helmoir is how I always pronounce it.
Helmar.
Yeah.
She's kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
Like looks like a noble. I don't know what she's doing.
Ashway Stranger, I think, is a really cool model too. Kind of looks like an enforcer, but then he's got like a cloak and some goggles. It's just cool. I
think a lot of the Ashway stuff looks really cool. The variation,
just Necromunda. It's hard to go wrong with what they bring aesthetically. Like I really like almost everything that they put out.
Yeah. Iron Within animation comes out on Warhammer Plus. This is the other thing.
Yeah.
That I wanted to throw out there. This was a pretty good animated like adventure on Warhammer Plus. I showed it to Justin who had come over, and the story I felt was like fairly predictable.
Yeah.
But it was pretty cool.
It's a short arc. But
I want to see. I expected to see more animation coming out of Warhammer Plus than we're getting.
Yep.
I think it's still worth it in the sense that you get the model every year, and if you don't like it, you can resell that model, which I did. It basically paid for my Warhammer Plus subscription.
Yep.
But I know animation is expensive and time consuming to build, but we need to see more of it.
Yeah. Since they originally promoted and sold this as an animation platform, I would say that's the thing it's doing worst at the moment.
I agree.
I think it's still a good service with the model, with the
access to the White Dwarf stuff.
The White Dwarf archives is great. The battle app to actually be able to put your army list together, it's fantastic.
That's killer.
Like that is primarily how I'm using the app right now.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because the animations are a little few and far between, unfortunately.
All right.
Yeah.
April. So now here's the thing. They've announced Leviathan.
Yep.
They've announced 10th edition is coming. I think they even showed us some of the models from it, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
But now you get the sense that like, okay, all the shortcomings they've been having in stock and stuff, and they're heading towards the middle of the year. Like, I felt more and more like they're holding back, just waiting for
ramping up for production to release Leviathan and capture on all the new excitement.
Especially, 40K. Why are you going to buy some 9th edition rules at this point?
Yeah,
when they're just about to be invalidated.
If you're playing in tournaments or just really love that,
I guess.
Yeah,
but yeah, so it does put them in a weird position,
right?
But and I felt like I almost physically felt like the stall.
Yeah,
a little bit here, but
totally agree.
Let's talk April.
Yep. New boarding patrol boxes: Adeptus Sororitas, Thousand Suns, and Adeptus Custodes.
And again, I mean, they're
just reboxing of existing models, but it's a kind of
it's a precursor.
Yeah.
To
Combat Patrol.
Combat Patrol.
Yeah,
that's what it really is.
It is.
Which I think is a smart move.
Right. I agree. I'm so glad Combat Patrol exists. I think it's such a great entry point. We've talked about this to death at this point. But this is kind of a precursor of what's leading up to that. And Boarding Patrol does play with a very different set of units. Like there's way more restricted to what you can and can't bring and how you can field them and things like that. And that's true of 9th and it's still true in 10th.
Yeah.
So these do have their own place. I think it gives you a little bit of a discount of getting multiple kits in one box,
always does.
But it's not reinventing the wheel.
Right. Okay.
After that, we get Lionel Johnson and Retinue. These are the Blade Guard veterans.
For some reason, they didn't release just Lionel Johnson.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's some financial, to make this work, we got to bundle it with this. We got to set this price point, blah, blah, blah. So he comes out with a couple Blade Guard vets.
Like how many people are playing Dark Angels? How many people want a Primarch specifically? And then Blade Guard.
Yes, I think that's a very important thing. And I try to, like, when people are like, why is this character model $40? Yes, that is a very high price for a single model. I'm not arguing that it's not. But what I'm saying is from a business perspective, you're not going to sell as many.
Right.
You're just not.
You still have to pay just as much for the tooling. Shipping, packaging, design, etc. The design of it, the model,
the modeling it,
etc.
Yeah, and I think you're
going to sell further. You're going to sell way less units of it compared to a box of Tactical Marines or something like that.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, you are getting way more.
This guy, he's so specialized.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not playing Dark Angels, and you're not painting him for a competition, or you have to have all the Primarch models.
Yep.
You're not buying this model. This is my favorite model that they've come out with this year. I didn't buy it.
Right. Yeah.
Why would I buy it?
It's not.
And
it's
so
not your faction.
And so when the fewer you're going to sell, the more expensive it's going to be.
Right.
Like it's just the way
the cost to bring it to market costs just as much as anything else. So in order to not bring this model out at a loss, and that's true of any character model. Like you're going to sell fewer character models because they're less important than your kind of boots on the ground, your tanks, etc. You have to charge a premium for that in order to not be operating at a loss.
Yeah. And look, I'm not saying I like it. I don't like it.
I understand it.
Yeah. So anyway, continue.
Ark's Omen, the Lion, surprise, surprise, releases. I think finishes the storyline of that. Maybe there's one. I think the Lion is the last one.
I think you might be right.
I could be wrong.
We'll find out in May.
We'll find out.
But I think you're right.
Commander Dante of the Blood Angels releases. He's gone through the Rubicon Primaris and come out bigger and better than ever.
Got new armor too. Mark 10
extra shiny. Mm-hmm. Boarding Patrol for Leagues of Votann and Agents of the Imperium releases.
They're scraping the bottom of the barrel now.
Yeah. This is the end. Combat Patrol World Eaters is rounding out the last of GW Prime.
We not any huge notable things from Black Library at that time, but going into specialist games, Josh, I'll leave this to you because it's on Necromunda.
Yeah, Necromunda, the Aranathian succession, Vaults of Temerin, Temenenos. It's actually really, I don't know if you've been following the story.
I haven't.
I've fallen a little bit behind on the books just because I'm I'll pick them up early next year when we're ramping up for Ash Waste.
Yeah.
But the actual, the story, the evolution of the lore and what's going on in Necromunda is really interesting right now. So maybe at a future point when we talk about Ash Waste, when we're doing a campaign or something, we can kind of recap that. But it's actually a really cool story and what they're doing there. So
very cool.
Fun continuation of that. There's more rules that come out in those things for vehicles, Ash Waste, etc. And just there's actually some really cool narrative scenarios of like you're trying to kill these noble houses, characters, and things like that. So
all right,
it's fun stuff in the books. The Cawdor Gang Ridgewalkers come out, and these are the kind of funny mechanical legs with Cawdor dudes riding on top. Not my favorite aesthetically, but I think they're really fun at the same time. So it feels right for Cawdor. Necromunda Cawdor Ash Waste upgrade.
Those are just
again, this is for Cawdor. So this is
to bring them
kind of rebreathers and things like that, backpacks that just give you more desert dwellings.
This is the thing I thought you were talking about. This next thing coming up is the thing I thought you were talking about earlier.
Necromunda, the Enforcer Sanctioner Pattern Automata.
Yeah, that thing is cool.
These are really cool, and these are essentially Enforcer specific ambots of a sort. So they're that kind of same scale on a 40 millimeter base.
Can only one faction use these?
As far as I know, only Enforcers get access to them. They are incredibly hard to find right now, and I'm absolutely kicking myself that I was not able to get them on release because that's when I got laid off. So this is interesting. They're really cool models. I think they bring a really fun thing to that gang. They're just impossible to find right now. So when they come out, I will absolutely be picking some up, but I'm super bummed that I missed out on them. Contemptor upgrade kits continue, which these again, upgrade.
This is what we just talked about. These are the these are the
it's a resin torso
for the
plastic kit. Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's better than nothing, but man, those original resin kits, like the legs were all done.
You could do every single joint.
That was incredible.
And there was just way more Legion specific detail on those. So we're getting Blood Angels, Death Guard, Iron Hands, Night Lords, Space Wolves, and World Eaters.
That's right.
And on top of that, we get the Adeptus Titanicus campaign compendium, which this is kind of a compendium of really all the kind of campaign books that they've put out and putting it all in one place.
This is still available. Like you can still pick this up. I noticed they have one at Gamecast. I almost bought it the other day.
The nice thing they've done with this and Necromunda too, so special scams are historically, if you're buying them one off, there's a ton of books. Like they'll put out a new book a quarter, and if you're trying to keep up with everything, it's a lot of books. So what I appreciate is that they will do these compendium books, like they did with the Loyalist books and the Trader books, and now if you want everything for Adeptus Titanicus, it's 3 books. You get your Loyalist book or your Trader book, or if you're playing both, you do need both. You can get the campaign book if you're playing campaigns. If you're not, really, you don't even need to pick this book up.
I didn't buy it because you have it.
It does have some cool optional rules. A lot of the campaign for Adeptus Titanicus is awesome, and someday I would still absolutely love to play that. Obviously, we've got a lot of games that work really well at campaigns.
This is our problem. There's too much to do.
We're spoiled for choice, which also makes it hard to make those decisions and commitments. Anyways, it's a great book. If you're interested in campaign play, definitely pick it up for some of the alternate rules.
Right on.
Then we have Adeptus Titanicus, the conversion beam weapons for Warlords, Warhounds, and Reavers. And this is just
it's a resin
these
weapon.
Are resin, single weapon options per little clamshell there. Opening up the weapon options you've got for those 3 Titan types. And they're pretty fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's April. Again.
April. Yeah.
Like, okay. Some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying like the Lion releases. Okay. But they already had his rules for 10th at that point. Yeah. Right. Like, everything is kind of prepping for that. So in example of that, May, Kill Team Adeptus Arbites Exaction Squad is now sold separately from the Gallowdark box. Yeah. Special terrain pieces from the Killzone upgrade for Soul Shackle are now made available separate.
So you can just buy those as an upgrade.
The Kill Team Ashes of Faith, Agents of the Inquisition, and Chaos Cultist box comes out.
So cool.
Okay, I have it. Like I had to have it.
Yeah.
I bought one from Sky at Herrick Games, and like I looked at it the other day and I'm like, man, I should assemble these guys. I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. You should.
You know what I think I'm going to use this stuff for?
Necromunda or Tabletop
Rogue Trader.
Yeah, 100%. This is the box that released, and I said, so that box, there are some almost identical replicas of the original art in the Inquisitor rulebook from 25 years ago. Yeah. So for me, this box releasing was Blanchitsu in a box. Like the models that they brought to the tabletop in 28mm scale, just bring that art to life, bring that lore to life, bring that world to life. And I'm so happy this exists.
Yeah.
I didn't have a reason to pick it up, but I think that's awesome. I will get one eventually anyways, just because like these models are awesome for me.
I've got a few models that as I look at that Rogue Trader thing, I'm like, I would use this and I would use that. And so anyway,
perfect.
Black Lives, but again, that's it for Games Workshop Prime, right? As we call them, like not huge releases because we're ramping up.
Bit of a
Black Library. So Pilgrims of Fire by Justin Hill, which is a Sisters of Battle novel, comes out. The Great Devourer, the Leviathan Omnibus, which is a bunch of stories from various authors all about Leviathan.
Yeah. I wonder what that's ramping up.
And Outgunned by Denny Flowers, which is an air-to-air combat book. And I put that in there because the last time I read an air-to-air combat book was Double Eagle by Dan Abnett, which if you have not read, you can get in digital format, and I highly recommend it. It's a great book. I have not read this one, Outgunned, and I was, but then they killed Aeronautica Imperialis. So no, I'm refusing to read it.
It's just Horus Heresy only.
Specialist Games though,
drawing your line in the sand.
Yeah, it's a really loose line.
Yeah,
it's in the sand and the waves come in and kind of move it. In Specialist Games, Adeptus Titanicus, the Open Engineer Award cards come out. And guess who got them?
Yeah. I think this is a re-release because I believe they had already released the first time, but I think this was a reprinting of them, which is actually saying, because that's when you were able to get, I already had them at that point.
Okay. So okay. Yeah. All right. Did not realize that. That was when I got them though.
Yeah.
And I ordered them here and then they sat at GW for 2 months.
Yeah.
Horus Heresy Mastodon Super Heavy Assault Transport with additional plastic sponsons. So the kit's still resin, but now you get additional weapons that are a plastic sprue.
That is a huge kit.
That is not a cheap kit either. No. That thing's like $350 or
it's
something.
One of the biggest models.
No, it's more than that. It's like $600 or $700. Like
it's probably the largest sub-Titan model that they have.
Yeah.
So like it's a big hit.
It is a monster. And I think Todd has one.
Okay.
I think. Man, that thing is just brutal. Horus Heresy, the Fellblade, Glaive, and Falchion kits now are repackaged with plastic weapon sprues as well. So it's interesting. I think they're offering more weapons capabilities on some of these. I'm guessing I'm not playing Horus Heresy at this point. But a lot of these were already out before.
You know,
in
rules
resin.
Existed, but there wasn't a model to represent.
Impossible.
So, yeah.
Damocles Command Rhino. Resin upgrade kit for a Rhino, which is interesting because this is kind of a revised version of the original Damocles Rhino, which, interestingly enough, one of the first Forge World models I ever bought.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It was an adapted kit that you would.
You like the round doors?
No. So this was not for the Damocles. Originally, it was just for a regular Rhino.
Okay.
And it had two Space Marines in the back, working on like a console.
Oh yeah.
And then it has a radar dish on the top. Yeah. And I don't know why it appealed to me so much. Like I hadn't bought any Forge World stuff at that point, but this was early on and Forge World was the site that I think Kentaro, my friend, had pointed me to. He's like, oh yeah, they have all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this stuff's really expensive. And he's like, yeah, well, it is. And you can only order it from there and blah, blah, blah. And it's this, horror deal to get it. And I was like, man, that thing looks cool. Like, what does it do? And I'm like, I found the rules. I can't even remember what the rules do at this point. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I'll pick up one of those.
You got to have somebody in charge.
So I picked up that guy.
Nice.
So, where was I? lost my place. Command Rhino. Then the Horus Heresy, the Age of Darkness, the Siege of Chthoniya, which is the first narrative expansion for Horus Heresy.
And the
new Horus Heresy.
They did a short preview of it at Adepticon, if I recall now.
Yep. Horus Heresy Despoiler Squad upgrade set, the Infernus Abomination, the Varen Asher,
bless you,
and Lord Castellan Evander Garius character models release. A bunch of character models.
Yeah.
There was a time where Horus Heresy was all we were playing. Like for me, it was like 7th edition. I think 7th edition become so bloated,
right?
But like Horus Heresy was the way to play it.
Yep.
And man, I played a lot of Heresy back in the day, but it kind of died out around here. And I like just decided
there's a pretty big crew but you have to drive into like Santa Clara for it, which is,
well, that's not far from me,
not that far, but
I think the other thing for me was with Alan passing and Ed getting out of it and John not really participating, Ed Brown and John French not participating in it anymore. And like that was the group I used to chat with all the time. It kind of became at that point, it wasn't at the forefront of my mind. And 40K was doing some interesting things with the 8th edition that I actually really liked.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that kind of killed it off for me. But
8th edition and Titanicus.
There was a time where I was like, the only thing I was looking at was Horus Heresy stuff. Necromunda Outland Beastmaster with Millisars comes out. This guy's cool.
Fun models. Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool. The Horus Heresy Decurion Sagittar, an Imperial Fist tank marksman. So this is like he sits in the top of the tank. He's like pointing.
Yeah.
kind of half a model.
He's got a laser pointer.
And the Horus Heresy Librarian Console comes out. And he's okay looking.
Yeah.
I'm also not that impressed with it.
Yeah. There's one we'll talk about later that looks really cool.
This guy feels like it almost felt like a step back in design quality for me. So wasn't a huge fan.
Well, after Nikea, the librarian
there you go.
got disbanded anyway. So they kind of phoned that one in.
How'd that work out for the Space Wolves? That's totally different. Let me just race through June here because again, we can't race through June. June, it happens, right? 10th edition finally drops and we were all here for that. Hopefully you're still here. The core rules for 10th edition get released after a leak of them gets out.
Yep.
Data sheets for Leviathan get released. Space Marine, and before Leviathan, Space Marine Heroes, these blind boxes of Death Guard, all come out. So you can blind box buy these, which cool if you're playing Death Guard.
Those used to only be available out of country, like Japan specifically. Yeah. It was kind of a random blind buy. You didn't know what you were getting.
I think even the boxes you buy have Japanese characters on.
Yeah, they probably do.
But they were available in the US.
Yeah.
Then Leviathan itself releases. Okay. Index cards for all armies release. Core separate from Leviathan, the box set with the core rulebook releases, Tyranid Crusade book releases, the Leviathan mission deck releases. I'd say that's arguably one of the most important pieces.
Yeah.
And the limited edition Warhammer 40K core rule book releases as well. I don't buy limited edition core rule books anymore.
Rules especially.
And considering that my Leviathan book is on the verge of falling apart, like I'm like,
should have bought the special edition.
Then I could really be upset. Okay. I think we did a whole episode on Leviathan, but I think it's worth rehashing that this was a big seller. I think it was a huge seller for Sky.
Yeah, for sure.
I happened to,
I think he had 450 boxes.
It's crazy in his little shop.
Yeah.
His poor wife. His wife is so tiny. Jade is so sweet.
Those stairs, so tiny. All those boxes.
She's not built for that.
Maybe it was 450 pounds. It's like, it was a lot of stuff.
Did you and I split this set?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Because I wanted the Tyranid stuff.
Yep.
You took the Space Marine stuff.
I grabbed the Marines out of that.
All the models are fantastic looking. Like I think they're
absolutely
brilliantly fantastic looking models. If you didn't want to buy that Leviathan core box set because you didn't play either of those armies, cool.
Yep.
Like it's interesting because it was such a savings.
Yeah, it was. It was a really
if you play those armies or one of those armies. Yep. But I mean, they make everything else available too. It's not like you just have
without having to wait 3 months either.
Yeah.
Right? Unlike historically.
Yeah. And then after this, they released like a bunch of smaller box set, like starter box sets and that kind of thing. But I won't go into that too much. But I think as far as Games Workshop releases go, like this is probably one of their most successful. I know for a fact the box and the models it contained are the most complicated box release that Games Workshop has done. I know that for a fact. I have been told that.
Yep.
Like this had the most machines dedicated to it to build, and such a variety.
A lot more complexity of tooling and how you take those CAD designs and break them apart, and fit them on the sprues. And
you know, I gotta say, I mean, I painted up one of the Tyranid models from it at this point, just because I was messing around and I was like, I want to see if I did this method, how does it look different?
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm happy. I think the model looks great. I think for the most part, all the new Tyranid models look really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially the Biovores and Pyovores.
That's a huge improvement of the Biovore, especially. That was terrible model.
It really was. And it looks so cool now.
Yeah, it's a really cool model.
So, you know, I mean, look, this is where we sit now. We're in 10th edition. Love it or hate it. It is the way we're playing.
And this is a really nice shot in the arm for, I think, 40K in general. Like, it really, a new edition always revitalizes the community and the game.
But 9th edition had become so bloated.
Yeah.
I'll say it again, like, I'm upset that they got themselves back there again.
Right.
Like, they were there in 7th edition. They learned their lessons.
Learned the lessons.
They put out 8th.
Didn't remember them.
Yeah. Like, some of the same guys are there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Some of the same designers are there. I'm like, what?
There are a lot of new people in design studio. So
but the next time I go out there, I'm going to talk to a couple of people and be like, what were you?
Yeah. How did you find yourself here again?
Yeah. I mean, it's a slippery slope. You're trying to constantly make new ways to play, make the game more interesting, add models. I get it. But man, it just felt like, oh.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
All right. Dawn of Fire, the Martyr's Tomb comes out in Black Library. Lord of Blood, which is an omnibus for Blood Angels by Guy Haley, comes out. That's pretty cool. I like Guy Haley's such an interesting writer. And he's such a nice guy. Like, he's super nice guy. But the reason they go to him a lot is like, cause he writes fast,
quick. Yeah.
He used to be in the news. Like, he used to write news art. He used to be in media. And so he was used to writing on like a deadline, you got to put out blah, blah, blah. So you can really see though, when it's like Guy Haley writing a book, cause they're like, hey, we have these new,
we need to tell this into a new release, right? Versus something that Guy really wanted to write. Yeah.
When he writes something he really wants to write, I think he writes really, really good. When he's writing some like marketing material, basically, it's okay, but it's bolter porn.
Yeah. And there's a time crunch, and it's probably not a high priority.
But they go to him because he'll have it done in time.
Yeah.
Right. He's also like, and that's not a slam on it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. That's just business.
Gutter Bowl for Blood Bowl gets released.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a big Blood Bowl guy, but I was throwing the Blood Bowl stuff in here just because I thought.
I know Tom picked this up.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Tom's a huge Blood Bowl guy.
He's a huge Blood Bowl fan.
And then the Battle for Ogrim commences. So this was in support of Leviathan. And this was, if you bought the Leviathan box set, you got a card that had a code in it, and you could go enter your games as you played. And it was Imperium versus Tyranid.
Pretty short window of.
Yeah, it's like a month.
Yeah. Collecting information, but you can submit.
I found that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't submit anything.
I was so busy painting up new stuff and figuring out how to play the game and all that.
So that's an interesting point you just made, though. Yeah. Like, a lot of people are trying to figure out how to play the game.
I think learning to play the game was pretty quick.
Yeah,
but
for you.
Yeah, I also, with 10th edition dropping, really wanted to kick off the Primaris Shark contingent.
Yeah.
So I've only played a handful of games with Necrons, which are obviously fully ready to go and have, I don't know, 6,000 points of them. So for me, it was more about, I'm going to spend this time kind of hobbying and ride that excitement versus play a lot of games initially for that first month, especially.
Yeah. I'm hoping this edition is going to be, for me, like 8th edition. I played a lot of 8th edition.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so far, it's off to
I think it's got a lot of legs.
Stupid Legion Imperialis book sitting here staring at me, and I'm like, okay.
Look, a distraction.
I know. Right. All right. So listen, we're halfway through the year. Let's take a break. We'll come back, cover the back 9, as they say. It's really back 6, as they say in golf. And we'll be right back. All right, and we're back, and we're closing out the last half of the year, 2023. So let's leap into July. So now 10th edition is fully engaged. It's going on.
Full swing.
The Lion releases again, but this time without the retinue.
Just solo.
Now for some reason,
no blade guard.
Yeah, without the blade guard. Again, this is all Games Workshop Prime, and you're going to see that there's not a lot here because everything was so focused on this massive
So much
release.
production had to be focused on Leviathan itself.
Yeah. Boss Snickrot releases in plastic, which is cool. He's a great model.
It's a good model.
And I made a mistake earlier. Farsight did not release back then. He releases in July in his XV86 Supernova battle suit. So, my apologies. I don't think he released.
It was an Arcs and Omen that released, so maybe it was new rules or something, but the new model doesn't drop till July.
That is correct. That is correct. So my mistake there. And then the other mistake we made when we were talking about Black Library authors seeing a model of a character they had made come to life, it was actually Minka Lesk is the name of the character that Justin Hill wrote. That's part of the Cadian group. And that model gets released in July as well. So Shadow of the Eighth novel gets released by Justin Hill, which is more of the Minka-esque story. So it kind of comes in parallel with that. Harrow Master from Black Library, which is Mike Brooks, released a book. It's an Alpha Legion Warband, and a Tanith Regimental Standard goes on sale from Black Library. And this is literally a standard you can buy on the wall.
Yeah.
Again, something I didn't buy.
Did not pick that up myself.
I got enough stuff on my walls around here.
Yeah.
I don't need any more. I actually changed out one of these pictures.
Oh, nice.
So all the pictures I have,
I didn't notice.
I would get, I would get Black Library and Games Workshop would come out with calendars each year, and they've stopped doing it, but they came out with like the Black Library calendar, and then they'd come out with the Horus Heresy calendar. I think was the other one. And, so I would buy them because they were really big, and you could buy frames at Target and that had, what do they call this?
A mat.
A mat, border around it, and they would fit perfectly in there. And so those have been hanging around the Astronomicon for years now. But I pulled one out that, some of I just kind of, I was like, well, this is the best picture of the pictures remaining, so I'll put it in there.
Yeah.
Actually up there in the corner is the cardstock Leviathan box art.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That
cool.
came out.
Nice.
Cause that's a great, the dual, like the Terminator
really cool
and the Tyranid. That's cool. So, and those fit perfectly in these frames that you can get at Target as well. So,
what else do you do with that?
They throw them in there
too.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if I have the Chaos one still, because that was a good one too.
I've got the Legions Imperial. Actually, no, I don't. I just recycled it.
Of course you did. Okay, so where was I? The Specialist Games Necromunda new core rulebook comes out.
New and improved.
Sons of bitches.
So this does a fun little job of updating actually a couple rules in how the game plays. It actually adds a little bit of modern game design in there.
Okay.
Nothing
Which is
huge,
interesting because Necromunda, in all honesty, is still building off a dated system.
Super fun, but it is the oldest and clunkiest of the rule sets.
Yeah.
Just because it's pretty true to its original 1995 core.
I would say it's clunky because it's granular.
There's a lot of granularity in it.
Yeah.
And there's also there's so much more interactions in it because you got 3D terrain, you've got cover, you've got like different stats with initiative. See if you fall off a garter.
And the interesting thing is it can be granular because it's only like 10, 12 miles.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's a skirmish game. So you get to go deep because you don't have that much to worry about.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
I think this is a great addition to Necromunda.
Bolt Gun, the video game releases.
Yeah.
Did you get this?
I did. I haven't finished it.
I got to like the very end. I can't beat it.
Oh man.
I don't have that Twitch technique anymore.
I played probably 5 levels and actually was having a lot of fun with it, of just seeing it bring 40K to life in that kind of
silly
old school Doom first person shooter format. Yeah, it's fun.
It's a good little game. And then Battle for Ogrim concludes with the Tyranids winning 53% to Imperial 47%.
Yeah, pretty close. But Tyranids take the W.
Which is great.
What does
because
it mean?
when I ran a Tyranid campaign, we got our teeth kicked.
Yeah, I remember.
And that was the problem with Tyranids in 7th edition.
Yeah.
They were just, that was brutal. That was brutal. All right, August. Go for it.
All right. Space Marine Vanguard Task Force kicks it off. This box set. This is all the Phobos joined with flying suppressors. This is just a rebox of existing models, so nothing particularly new or exciting, but it does put them all in one convenient place.
Same with the next one.
Yeah. Repackaging of Lieutenant with Storm Shield and Captain with Relic Shield. Again, these are models that had already existed.
But they were only available in larger box sets at
these,
that point.
I believe, were specific to Indomitus. So I think this is the first time since Indomitus these models actually come out. So if you're really going after those, that's kind of a big deal, but you could have found them on eBay or something separately already. Repackaging of Chaos Space Marine, Master of Possession, which is a fantastic
model.
Yeah.
I have two of them.
Oh, nice.
Because I had collected both two Chaos sides of that thing.
Always two.
Yeah.
Kill Team 2023 annual release. This is just
this I actually really appreciate that they release this annual that kind of compiles all the updated kill teams and everything.
Some of the stuff from White Dwarf that's been released.
Yeah, because they're spread across so many things, and this just makes it, you can get it in one package. You know, the other thing I did with my Kill Team stuff at this point, which I saw Cheyenne do when we went to Adepticon, was I took it all to like Staples and had them cut the edge off and spiral bind it.
Yep.
Because it can just lay open.
To flip through.
Oh, it's so nice on the table to have it lay flat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So then we got Killzone upgrade, the Galifall release. So this is
also a repackage.
Some terrain that was only available before that comes out separate. Killzone's all specific to terrain. Kill Team, the Hearthkin Salvagers, is the Votan, first Votan Kill Team. So this is kind of a big deal in that Votan can finally participate in Kill Team. So it is bringing a new army to Kill Team. It also has one really unique model. There's kind of one heavy weapon guys and then one guy with a little jump pack, which are cool models.
Interesting.
Yeah. And not available anywhere else in the Votan line at this point. So that's kind of the call out there. Kill Team Hand of the Archon. These are the Dark Eldar, so these are mostly Kabalite warriors. There is an upgrade frame in there, but nothing overly new. Kill Team Inquisitor Agents releases individually, so not part of the box set anymore. Right. This is just the Inquisitorial Agent box. Again, fantastic models. I will absolutely pick up this box just to have it, even though I'm not necessarily going to play with it. The Kill Team, the Felgor Ravengers. So happy to see Beastmen come back to the 40K universe. Really cool models. I know Brian, I think, picked up a couple of these, and I haven't seen them on a table yet.
Now, technically, Beastmen have been back in the Thousand Suns with the Zangors.
Yeah, that's true.
They are kind of Beastmen. But yeah, these guys are the classic Beastmen. Yeah. Very cool.
And the fact that it's 40K specific with chain swords and pistols and things like that, just really cool. Love the aesthetic of this. And they have been kind of missing from the greater 40K presence for a good while.
You think they're going to bring them out with the Chaos Space Marine Codex? You think they'll be included?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
They should.
Worst case scenario, you can use them as cultists or something. I would
totally add them.
Like just, one for one. But I think...
I could just use them as cultists.
Yeah, I think it'll work either way. But I wouldn't be surprised if they get their own entry.
That would be really cool, actually. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there have been other Age of Sigmar things that have been going on here, but this is one that I felt like we needed to call out.
Yeah. So Age of Sigmar Cities of Sigmar Army set releases.
Yeah. These are amazing looking models. And I just I think there was a lot of hype generated about them, and I knew a lot of people were excited about them. I'm not playing this right now, and
if you don't follow Age of Sigmar, this is your kind of everyday average human faction, which has been sorely lacking. The Empire kind of rolled into Cities of Sigmar. This is really, it's a fresh start of just your base level, not chaotic humans in Age of Sigmar, and the models are fantastic.
Yeah. At the End in the Death Volume 1 gets released in hardback at this point, but we've already covered that. It's not the special edition at that point. Siege of Terra, Devastation of the Imperial Palace interior map gets released. Didn't buy this either.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson by this point. I'm like, why am I?
It's a map of space warfare of Terra.
Well, it's a map of the interior of the palace being destroyed. So, I mean, it has some interest.
Cool to look at, but
but do I need
Don't
it?
need to put it on my wall.
No.
Yeah.
Stop agreeing with me. Specialist Games Horus Heresy releases the Imperial Fist Praetor. Very cool.
Yeah.
And the Loyalist Champion console gets released as well.
Yeah. These are just kind of, you can use them for the various consoles of Horus Heresy.
Also, the Space Marine 2 beta signups, and the trailer gets dropped at this point. And holy God, that game looks so amazing.
It does.
And I'm so glad they went with Tyranids as the main villain.
Yep.
In this one, I mean, it was orcs and chaos last time.
Orcs and a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, but man, the scenes they showed, I was so disappointed when we heard it got delayed.
Yeah.
Because
that's all right. You got Rogue Trader to play.
You know what?
It'll come out just in time.
Jesus. Could you imagine if it had come out at the same time? Like Independent Characters is going to be 2 months late.
We're just reviewing video games.
Video games at this point.
Yeah.
All right. September. Here we go. GW Prime. Tyranids Combat Patrol gets released. So here are we starting to see the Combat Patrols come out.
Yeah.
That match the 10th edition rule set so that you have a great entry to start point. And we talked about Combat Patrols before. I think this is absolutely a smart move on Games Workshop's part. I think it makes the game accessible.
Yeah, if you're a new player picking up a new faction,
hey, well, what should I do? Yeah. What one looks fun to you? I like these guys. Are they any good? The Combat Patrol. Start with the Combat Patrol. See if you like it.
It's an incredible discount on what you get inside the box. And
if you don't like it, you can part it out and sell it.
Yep.
You know, whatever. But Tyranids Combat Patrol comes out. Tyranid Norn Emissary / Norn Assimilator. Freaking cool looking model.
Those are the Hive Tyrant Plus.
Tyranid Lictors, Neurolictor, Death Leaper, Biovore, Pyrovores. We just talked about those.
Yeah. Bunch of really
all of these models.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
New Tyranid Gene Stealers.
Yep.
They were due for an update for a long time.
Pretty similar to the existing kit, but still like great.
I'd like to see them diverge a little bit, but it's cool. Of my Tyranids, that was the models I enjoyed painting the least.
Yeah.
Was the Gene Stealers. Did not have fun with the ridges on their backs and stuff. Hormagaunts and Termagants also get released brand new.
Yeah. Still pretty faithful to the existing one.
Yeah, and they look better, but the fact is I own like 200 of these things. I am not going to buy these.
Don't want to rebuild or
I'll mix them in with my other guy.
There you go.
You'll never know. Tyranid Codex drops, dice, cards, blah, 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 everything that comes with that. Cerastus Knight Castigator and Acheron are released in plastic. Oh my God.
Gorgeous model.
Let me tell you.
Gorgeous kit. Yeah.
And this thing, like I have not played with it yet or seen it, but I'll tell you the resin one was incredibly posable. I'm hoping this one is just as posable.
I'm sure, yeah.
I think it is.
I'm sure it is.
I remember seeing, like, at first when I saw this, the Lancers and stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't all that impressed with it. I was like, yeah, okay, it's a okay looking model. Like I liked the top and everything, and then when you went to Forge World, when you went to Games Workshop Warhammer World, and they had a whole separate Forge World area and store, they had them assembled there, just assembled, not painted, so you could see
the components and
what you get. Yeah. Like this is what you get,
how big it is,
and and they had one posed there, and it was in such a cool pose. I was like, oh, that's a very cool model. And it's so interesting that can change your opinion on something.
Yep.
So drastically, mine anyway. Classic terrain kits are made available for a period of time. We had talked earlier about the Aegis defense line, but here we get it again, including the trench line, the Aegis defense line, the Planetary Empire's landing pad, and the tower bunkers get released again. Those are great kits. I mean, they've been around.
Great terrain.
I guess they just do runs of them for a while now. Yeah. I mean, that kind of makes sense in a way.
I don't remember if this was a kind of a last chance to buy, or
I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I think they have it. I mean, now this stuff is all printed in China previously, whereas most of their stuff is printed
in the UK
and built in the UK. So it's very interesting. I imagine they kind of just place an order for it and say, hey,
right.
And I guess it's a good time for it. You've just had 10th Ed come out, and you're like, oh, people are going to be bucking for some terrain.
Yep. Get some new terrain.
Yeah.
Especially for new players.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, they're pretty maxed out on production in the UK with everything that they're doing.
Right. Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point.
So being able to just put an order in and get a cargo container shipped to wherever.
At 3 times the cost of what cargo containers used to cost. Specialist Games, Horus Heresy releases Mark III Iron Armor Tactical Squads.
Yeah, it's plastic Mark III.
Yep. Deradeo.
Yeah.
Dreadnoughts in plastic,
Yep.
which is honestly, I don't care for this model.
It is my least favorite aesthetic.
Stop agreeing with me.
It's the boat.
The boat
chest. Like this model had so much potential had they not just done that weird round conical at the same time.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Not a fan.
It felt like maybe it was influenced by like anime type of models or something, but the chest blows it for me.
These are coming into Legions Imperialis as well. There'll be one of the next things to release, and like rules wise, they're like great. I just don't like the aesthetic of this model, so I'll probably pass on them.
That's what you say now. You're gonna get them.
We'll see.
Horus Heresy Legionis Astartes Battle Group box set, which contains 30 Mark III tactical space marines, a Deradeo dreadnought, and a Land Raider Proteus. That's a pretty good deal, actually.
Yeah, this is if you're jumping into Horus Heresy, here's a great place to start.
That's where you start. Yeah, that's where you start. Blood Bowl comes out with a vampire team.
Yeah,
super cool.
It's super cool, and a very prominent female vampire featured in that. And they're pretty big deals.
Aaron he used to play a vampire team, and he played like vampire hobbits or something.
Oh. Yeah, I remember.
And like he had cheerleaders. Yeah, and he painted like bite marks on their legs.
Yeah. Little short vampires. Yeah. That's as high as they could reach. They couldn't get the neck.
October. Look at this.
Yeah.
So now we're seeing like the floodgates kind of opening.
Yep. October kicks it off pretty big. So Space Marine Codex drops with the data slates, cards, and new dice for that. Mm-hmm. Chaplain and Terminator armor, one of the few new models for that.
What do you think about this guy?
I don't love it.
I'm looking for stuff that you and I don't agree on here. I also am not a huge fan.
The issue with it is I actually preferred the bulkier look of the old one.
The chunkier, like
the more realistic skull of the mask. This one is more of almost like I don't know. It's kind of a cartoon skull mask to me a bit. And actually it's the chest for me that really doesn't do it, is that it doesn't have the Aquila on the chest. Mm-hmm. It has kind of venting that looks more like Chaplains always have like that kind of bone rib thing going, but this is it's a Terminator. So something about that translation for me just doesn't quite do it. And then because he's not as bulky as the older Terminator variants were, there's just a little bit more kind of dead space in the model. Yeah.
I agree with 100% of what you just said.
Yeah.
In addition, my favorite of the Terminator Chaplains is the original metal one.
Yeah.
Like even better than the plastic one they came out with. It felt like they just threw a bunch of stuff on them.
Yeah.
Like that original one is just one of my top models of all time. So it's very hard to beat, but I don't think it does it. That's why I asked you.
Yeah.
I was really hoping you could be like, I really love it. I'd be like, I don't like it.
It's not a bad model, but
it's just, there's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We've seen it done.
Okay.
Space Marine Terminator, the Primaris size, the scale Terminators. These again released in the Leviathan box set for the easy to build version. So this is the box that is everything, more weapon options, things like that. These are incredible. I really enjoyed painting these. These are kind of the most fun I've had painting Marines in a while. Was the new Terminators.
Awesome.
Yeah. Space Marine Captain in Terminator armor. So
awesome model.
Again, same thing from Leviathan, just available individually. Space Marine Jump Pack Intercessors. At long last, we have Jump Pack Intercessors.
It was funny because I had brought this up and I was like, I just really want to see Jump Pack Marines. That was one of my favorite things about Marines were Jump Pack Assault Marines and this kind of thing. And then somebody in the know was like, hey, by the way, look at this. And I'm like, oh man, I called it. So I'm glad it finally got there. It's so good.
To go with them, we have the Captain with Jump Pack.
Yeah.
These are actually the next two units on my painting queue for Sharkadons. Getting some Jump Pack Assault Intercessors.
Flying sharks.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't beat it.
It's like Sharknado.
There you go.
That's the unit.
That's the unit name. You heard it here. Space Marine and Company Heroes. This is the new Command Squad. So this is a revisitation of the classic Command Squad.
Yep.
Which I think the models are great out of that. I personally probably won't pick it up, but I appreciate.
They look amazing.
Yeah, because it does look great.
That has a company ancient, company champion, 2 company veterans led by a captain.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. It's good little box there. Great models. Space Marine Stern Guide Veterans release. Again, this is similar to what we saw in Leviathan, but these are now the more involved multi-parts. Space Marine Scouts are announced, and we had seen a preview for those, but I don't think the box actually released, because that is only just now coming out with Kill Team. So
which ones? The
Scouts.
Oh, so it was announced, but never.
I think we had a delay there.
I may have jumped the gun. That's the problem when you work from email.
Well, so they got announced, but the release still hasn't quite happened
pushed
yet.
back.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they got pushed back. We've only just now seen going up for pre-order the Kill Team box, which is where they're going to release.
Okay.
So it'll probably be a couple months yet till we actually get just a box of Scouts. They are coming though.
They look good.
They do look good.
Yeah.
And they're
much needed.
I unfortunately already have 15 Scouts that I already did all the head swaps on, because that was the most egregious part of the Scouts.
Yeah.
So I'm probably not going to pick them up, but
they're there if you want them.
But they're there. Space Marine Brutalis Dreadnought. So it's finally available on its own, because before, again, it was only available in that box set. And the Combat Patrol Space Marine box set is released. So a great way to start jumping into Marines. If that's something you're interested. Age of Sigmar, we have the Ionis Scythe Cryptborn, and his Stormdrake guards.
Yeah.
These models are incredible.
So good. Dude, they're so cool looking. That's the only reason I include them here. They were just awesome.
He is what I want chaplains to look like in 40K.
Yes.
Because it is that, I mean, they are the Age of Sigmar chaplains.
Yeah.
But they've done such a great job with the aesthetics on this model. And then they're all just riding dragons, which it doesn't get much cooler
super
than that,
cool
so.
for, if you had something like, if you were running salamanders and you had a chaplain riding like something like this, like, I don't know.
Counts as a bike.
There's no way to count it as, like, it's too big, but I mean, what a thematic kind of cool thing that would be.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see like salamanders, like riding like giant lizards and stuff. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Some of the giant drakes from, what's it? Nocturne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
All right. Black Library. Into the Death Volume 2 comes out.
Your favorite book?
2 of 3.
Yeah.
It's not a bad book. I mean, I don't mean to rag on it, really, really bad. It's just like, I think this all thing could have been tightened up and wrapped up a little bit. I get it's hard to end something like this, and you don't want to end it. You don't want to pull Stephen King where you're like, and then the bomb goes off and that was the end. It's like, okay, wait.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'm ready for the end. I think there's also probably a little reluctance to get to the end where it's like, what are we going to do? And I'm sure they're talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't think they need to do like some ongoing. The Dawn of Fire thing is going to, and that's like 7 or 8 books now. I haven't read any of them.
I haven't read those. Yeah.
But I might check them out.
Yeah.
Something to do.
Lots of space out there.
All right. Specialist games, go.
Necromunda, the Arathan in Succession, Ruins of Jardlin. This continues the campaign of that, the story of evolution, and there are some.
Do you have this?
I have not picked up any of the Secession books yet.
Okay.
I am hoping to pick them all up at some point in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Because there are rules embedded in these books, so if you are, depending on which games you're playing, you do need these for rules. But also just the story and what they offer to the game is pretty cool. And Necromunda is definitely a game that I'm in for. So I will I'll pick them up. The Necromunda Van Sar, the Arachnarigs.
I love these.
Yeah. They're very similar to the existing Forge World model, but these are basically kind of the vehicle that the Van Sar get for Ash Waste now. So and then we get the Van Sar Ash Waste upgrades. So again, this comes with its backpacks and new heads and things like that with respirators, just to get your Van Sar gang out in the Ash Waste.
That's right.
And followed up there by the Mind Locked Weird and Cephalopod Specters. And these are a more Deloc kind of specific thing. The Cephalopod Specters are a type of brute kind of. They're not really combat oriented. They're just very flavorful and kind of do some weird things.
Are these the things that look like cloakers?
They're like small little tentacle.
Oh,
creatures.
right.
So the cephalopod specter is the big one.
Okay.
The cephalopod specters are the more kind of small, less combat oriented.
Wait a minute, back up. You just said the cephalopod specter is the big one and the cephalopod specter is the small one. What's the big one? I thought that's what you said. I may have been mistaken.
Oh. Now I'm blanking now that you
all right, that's fine. That's fine. Anyway, this guy gets released.
So the Mindlock Weird is a pretty cool model.
Yeah.
It doesn't look Deloc-esque, but it's very fitting. This actually is more playing into some of the houses that you are able to bring in as allies in Necromunda now.
Yeah.
So this is kind of Deloc have mind-locked the Psyker, and now they're using them as a combat asset. And then the cephalopod specters. Oh, sorry. The other one was the Piscean specter is the combat one.
It.
Yep. So I did mix that up in my head there.
I don't know how you keep it all straight.
I got a lot of games up here.
Yeah, you got a lot of stuff up there.
Anyway, super cool, very fun thematic Necromunda weirdos that are dropping there.
Then the Blood Angels Assault Intercessor from Bandai gets released.
The big boy.
One thing I realized we didn't cover in this was there's that other company, I can't remember their name off the top of my head, that are making the 4 or 5 inch tall Marines.
They're McFarlane, right?
No, they're not McFarlane. Well, McFarlane came out with a bunch
because they were doing the unpainted ones. So
they do those
the artist
too.
Series, right?
But then there's another company that came out and they're like 4 or 5 inches tall. And they have like a whole, they have one of the huge dreadnoughts that the guy rides in. They have like a whole set of, They're not cheap, but they are really cool looking.
That's cool. They exist.
They're really cool looking. So then we get into November.
Yes.
And this period that we've just gone through July to now is like, I haven't bought a lot of the Tyranids that are there, even though I want them.
Yeah.
Now, some of that is just, I know I'm not playing Tyranids right now, and I'm trying to get a grip on, I'm trying to just buy what I'm actually going to play now.
Get your
whereas
Black
before
Legion
I was
to a
just
good
like
place,
crazy.
Jump in with whatever calls you next.
Yeah. So that's why I've kind of held off at that point. But here's where I think the genius of Games Workshop's plan here is playing out. And we've talked about these battle forces for, or not battle, what do they call it? Combat patrols, right? For the orcs get the Beast Naga Stampede. These battle forces?
These are actual battle forces.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So these are like the holiday special army in a box deals.
Right. Okay. Ignore what I just said. This is not where the genius comes in. This is still okay, but I think where the genius comes in is where they start releasing the combat patrols, actually.
And a lot of at this point, it's worth saying for combat patrol is that a lot of those combat patrols have released, even though the codexes aren't out.
That's right.
A few of them, like the Necrons, they do hold off to releasing till that codex comes out, which we'll talk.
Oh, interesting.
Talk about shortly. But
okay. So that you're right. These are the holiday, coming up. We got these kind of holiday specials coming up.
Yeah. And they're a really good deal on models of what you get in.
Yeah, the orcs with the Beast Naga Stampede, the Tyranids with the Onslaught Swarm, the World Eaters with the Exalted of the Red Angel.
Yeah.
The Astra Militarum, which have the Cadian Defense Force. And that's the new Cadian models.
Cadians, and I think it's 2 Rogaldorns in there.
Yeah, I think so. Like the Red Angel one comes with Angron. Leagues of Votann, the Defenders of the Ancestors, Space Marine Spearhead Force, and the Red Gobo's Surprise, which is a holiday, the holiday miniature. It's the Red Gobbo. Yeah. So, it's cool. I never really buy the holiday.
If you're starting a new army and
these are cool. I mean, like the holiday.
The Red Goblins.
Yeah. I'm not the kind of person that's going to buy that up to paint it. I know there's a audience for that out there.
It's definitely, if you're a collector,
it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. If you're an orc player or a collector or whatever, it's fun how that. But
then in the specialist games area, Horus Heresy has the Trader Champion console. Earlier, as you recall, they had the Loyalist.
Yeah.
They had and they released Fulgrim Transfigured. And I know there's a lot of drama around this model because it's a resin model released for Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
And people are, why didn't they release as a dual thing? Well, if you look right now, they haven't really done any
there's not really any Slaanesh or Emperor's Children in 40K. Very minimal.
I'm curious if they're moving away from it. And here's my suspicion. I'm curious if they're moving away from that with Vashtor kind of taking that place.
He is trying to become the 5th Chaos God.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if they're just not sure what they want to do with it. And I really hope they don't get rid of it.
I think they're going to do it justice. So we have,
I hope so.
We have Thousand Sons, we have Death Guard, we have Khorne, like well represented with Berserkers, Angron, etc.
And I don't mean to cause any panic there. Like I don't have any inside information.
Yeah.
I'm just
my
like,
suspicion is that they're actually going to release some dedicated like Slaanesh Emperor's Children models probably in the next year when the Codex comes out, maybe.
I hope so.
Like we'll see.
You know, interestingly enough, I have a bunch of Cacophony Marines from the Horus Heresy stuff.
You could play them as Noise Marines.
Well, that was my intention.
Yep.
I'm wondering if I shouldn't offload him right now that he has come out, because this model.
Yeah.
Now listen, I talked about the Lion before. This model was not on the list of best models of the year because I think it's in resin.
Because it's
This is holy God. This is incredible. Now I look at it too and I go, man, that looks fragile.
It's the best model I would never want to play with.
Yeah.
It is incredible. Somebody in our community is painting it up right now.
He just finished assembling it. And I was surprised at how big it was too. I mean, its wingspan is
big. It's fragile. It's lanky and it's beautiful.
It is the best of what they can do.
Yeah.
It really is incredible. And I'm also disappointed it's not in plastic.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But it is what it is. Yeah. And you have to admit, like, that is a phenomenally cool looking model. I'll be curious to see if they do it in plastic, what it comes out and looks like. But the fact that they've done it in resin tells me the plastic's got to be off for quite a ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And if they do so, I have a feeling, I don't know Fulgrim's lore as much from 30K to 40K and how the evolution goes, but I can only imagine he goes further down the deep end. So,
like early on, he's already down the deep end. Yeah. Like he's already transfigured by the time Siege of Terra.
Like as soon as he gets that sword.
Oh, he's nuts, dude.
But so I'm only assuming 10,000 years later, and with all the warp time,
that's
and
a good
all
point.
That,
like you can kind of go even more crazy.
Further. I think they will if they come out with a plastic kit.
My fingers are crossed. My fingers are crossed for people like Justin who are super into Emperor's Children and that kind of thing. Like, and I think it's a great army. I would love to see it represented on the table in a really great fashion. I really hope. Like, it just seems like it hasn't gotten love in so long.
Yeah,
but you know, Slaanesh is so tied into the Eldar backstory and all of that man, I can't say how you remove it.
There's still good representation in the demon line and in fantasy, but way less so in 40K.
Yeah.
Aside from demons.
I just like to see it. Yeah. That should be the next thing. But Chaos player talking. Necromunda comes out with Urson Grimjarl, the Jodlin Nomad Hunter. He's a squat. And Orin Grimjarl, the last Charter Lord of Jardlin, also a squat.
So
I think people are very excited to see squats in Necromunda again.
And these are proper squats. These are not Rotan. They are the actual, the ancestral squats.
The real deal.
Yeah.
Why don't you bring us home with December?
So it's been a busy year here, but let's bring it home with everybody's favorite Necrons. It's Necron Codex release.
Do you like Necrons?
I do like Necrons.
You know what? I don't.
That's good.
Yeah. See, we don't agree on everything. We do agree on a lot.
We agree on a lot.
And some of the new models are really cool.
Yeah.
I just don't like fighting them.
I get that.
No, I mean, I mean that in the loosest possible terms. I actually very much enjoy my games against them, but man, they can be frustrating sometimes when they just keep coming back.
They are not always fun to play against. I completely.
They can be. All right.
Armies that just negate you from killing them. And I only just picked up my book today because it only came out a week ago. Yeah. So I just picked it up from the shop today, but they have definitely taken some of the durability away from Necrons and given them more of a points discount, so you can get more bodies that are not quite as durable.
You know, that's good.
I think they will be more fun to play against.
That's good. It's interesting. There's kind of two things that can make an army no fun.
Yeah.
In my mind, two major things. One is exactly what you just described.
Anything that denies too much of your opponent's play.
Yeah.
Feel bad. Yeah.
And things that take away your opponent's powers.
Yep.
Like that's where it's just like, so why do I have this?
Okay.
You know?
My special is not the right flavor of special. So
I think those are two things, and it's difficult. Like I get it's difficult to balance it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear that you may get more. I'll be curious. Let's play them.
Yeah, I'll be very happy to jump into these. My next game of 40K will very likely be a game of Necrons because I have, again, thousands of points of them ready to go, fully painted, and excited with the new release here. Coming along with that, we have the Royal Warden, which is a re-release of an existing model. This was available in Indomitus, so I think this is the first time it's actually available separately. Overlord with Tachyon Arrow, again, was previously available in Indomitus, and this is the first time available separately. It's a great model. The Overlord with Translocation Shroud. This is a new model. So this is an Overlord who is actively in the process of translocating using Necron's teleportation abilities to move from one spot to another. I've heard pretty mixed things about the model. Most people don't like it. I think it's cool and fitting for the theme.
I think he's super cool.
I don't personally have a need to pick it up because I have a ton of Necrons already. But I think it's cool and it's fitting.
I think it's super cool.
Necrons are, the cool thing about Necrons is like they are using science. Their science is so advanced that it's the point of magic, right?
Yeah.
So this is
super science.
Yeah, it's super science, exactly. So seeing that represented, so it is something that looks like magic, but the way they've represented the model where it's kind of this digital technological magic, I think they've done a great job.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty neat. Then we have the Orican the Diviner. Again, this is a new model.
But they've removed some character models, right? From the codex, is my understanding.
Yeah. So there were a ton of Finecast special characters before, and they have pared down that from what I've seen and heard so far.
Nobody wants a Finecast model.
Yeah, nobody wants Finecast models. But
I used to be
there were a lot of special characters, and several of which never got models.
Yeah.
So they've.
I'll kind of mea culpa this. Like I used to be like, Finecast is fine. It's fine. Because I was playing Marine.
Yeah.
And like the Marine Finecast generally, and I was playing Death Guard, was fine. You know, like I didn't see what the problem was until Alan Bly at one point, he's like, I bought this Finecast Necron because he played Necrons.
Right.
I bought this Finecast Necron and he like did something and it was hollow inside it. He goes, it just crumbled.
Fell apart.
Because there was nothing to return.
This pile of dust.
Yeah, that's all he brought back.
Yeah.
Like you think he was playing 1,000 Suns.
Yeah. There you go. All this dust. So this is a plastic revision of existing Finecast model.
Okay.
And it's a great model.
Combat Patrol
Necron box set. So all these models were previously available, but now it's available in the Combat Patrol. This is one of the few that didn't exist or was not readily available for some of the factions. Then we have Imhotep the Stormlord. Again, already existed in Finecast, but this is a new plastic revision of this. Very cool model, nice and dynamic. Well done. We get the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex as well and data cards to go with that.
Yeah.
Which I have not heard much about yet.
I haven't heard anything about it yet.
Again, this only came out a week ago, so we'll see. There are then to go with that, the one new model that comes out with that is the Sidonian Skartaros. This is the Stilt Sniper.
What do you think of this guy, Josh?
I love it. It is.
Are you kidding?
No, I hate it.
Oh, thank God.
I'm not a fan of this at all. It's the most.
I was so excited that you and I were about to have a big disagreement.
This is the most wackadoo thing I've seen.
God, I hate it.
I don't understand the aesthetics. I don't understand the functionality.
I hate it so much. And if you defend this thing,
my question is why?
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's so he can see over other people.
He can see over rocks.
He got go-go gadget legs on this guy, and it's so dumb. I hate it. I hate it. And nothing anybody tells me is going to make me like it.
If you like it, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, good on you.
It's not. It's not
for
me. Yeah.
But no. Why? How?
Yeah, exactly.
There are just some things that you go like, how did this make it through? Anybody? Was somebody afraid to tell somebody like this is really not good?
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry. This is.
Jervis Johnson's kid designed this model.
If my favorite model of the year is the Lion.
Yep. Least favorite
with the asterisk because it's really full grown transfigured. But
yeah,
but if it's the lion,
yeah,
this is my least favorite.
Yeah,
like I remember I thought it was a practical joke when I first saw it. I literally thought it was a practical joke.
That's just like, Photoshop.
Wait a minute, it's not April.
Real. Okay.
Before you go on, I want to before you go on with the specialist games here because it goes on for a bit, and you don't have to read all of that out loud. That's ridiculous what I wrote. We did forget to mention a couple things here as it's occurring to me. First off, the combat patrol boxes I didn't put in here for some reason, and I don't know why, because I think that was such an important part
that's true,
of what they've done. And it's a brilliant move across the board for you to have an easy way to get into the hobby.
The vast majority of those dropped pretty quickly after Leviathan. So I think they came out in July.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we included.
Maybe July, August. And for some reason it didn't make the list, but it should have been in there because I think that's actually one of the cleverest things I've seen Games Workshop do in terms of making it easy for people to get into the game. 100%. Super smart. The other thing I didn't mention was we talked earlier about the Iron Warriors Warhammer Plus, but we didn't talk about Pariah Nexus.
Oh yeah.
Which came out. And it was like, people were frustrated that it was so short because I think it was 3 or 4
it's only
episodes.
3 episodes, but really good.
Whoa, super good.
Really good.
Super good. And I know somebody in our group was like, well, this is terrible timing. This should have come out with the Pariah box set, that they did with the Necron thing. And I'm like, yeah, that would have been ideal. I'm sure that would have been great, but it didn't.
It came out just before the Necron.
It was still amazing. Yeah. It was still like some of the, and going back to our earlier conversation about the animation, they build this as like an animation house, and it's like they doled out an episode, and then it was 2 weeks before the next later, and I'm like, what are you? Yeah. Okay. Now you're getting silly just releasing it in drips and drabs.
I don't know if there's a monthly Warhammer Plus subscription. I know a lot of show. Okay. So if you are going monthly, they're spreading it out. So you have to pay for at least 2 months to get it. And it's a business decision.
I guess, but it's terrible in regards to keeping me engaged
and remembering what just happened in the last episode.
And I loved it. I loved every aspect of it, but come on. I love that they had a salamander in it too. That was
which is
freaking sweet.
The most humanitarian of Space Marines, which is super fitting for coming to this planet's rescue. And the sister was fantastic in that, and the whole other guards.
So good.
The guard person present. Yeah,
the whole thing really was well good. Done. So anyway, I mean, if I had to say, again, my Warhammer Plus subscription gives me access to all this stuff and gets me access to the army building thing, which is super useful. It's actually really quite good.
Yeah. I still wish you could duplicate a roster. That's my one complaint about it.
And then the one other thing I want to talk about before we talk about the last part here is the Games Workshop website.
Oh yeah. The new website.
Yeah, that also came out this year, and it's a disaster. It's a disaster from the standpoint of a customer. It's a disaster from the standpoint of somebody trying to get in new. And I love Games Workshop.
They are making some improvements to it. It still has a long way to go.
Yeah. And my guess on what happened was, and it's funny because I was just talking to Blake about this from, what's their show?
Life After
Cover Safe. I was talking to Blake and I'm like, well, first off, why are you looking at this, Blake? You don't like Games Workshop stuff. Just looking for something to complain about. And I said, here's my take on what happened. The CEO announced in an earnings call, we're going to have this new website. It's going to drive all kinds of business. Here's the plan, blah, blah, blah. The new website is a year delayed or whatever.
Yeah.
So pressure starts coming from above to what is going on? Why is this not coming out? What are you guys doing? Listen, we have to launch this by X date.
Yep.
Let me see the list of all the features that are problematic at this point. And then somebody goes through and redlines a bunch of them and says, fix these 5 things, 6 things, 20 things, whatever it is, and then launch on this date.
Yeah.
It's going to launch. And then we will start adding things after that because that pressure, this is my guess. It's complete speculation. Nobody has said to me anything.
Right. Yeah.
But I have worked in the software industry. I worked at Yahoo. I worked where it was a website where
Carol Bartz, the CEO at the time, said it's just an bleeping website, and nobody really liked that when your whole thing is around a website. So I understand how these things happen. And so my guess is that's kind of why we find ourselves here. But more so than even that, I would fundamentally say the design from the beginning is not good.
Yep.
Like they are building upon and they tried to re-envision it, and it's not user friendly. They were trying to make something where I'm a new person to Warhammer, and what do I do? Well, I go to warhammer.com. Okay. And then what? Like,
and then you can't find anything, you get lost.
How hard is it to just go, here's the web store. Are you new to Warhammer? Just click here.
Yeah.
But here's the big web store.
Yeah.
And then you I mean, it's not how I would have designed it. Mind you, I haven't done web design for years. I used to.
Yep, me too.
I haven't done it for years, but there's a reason things don't change a lot in the looks of web design.
I was talking with Sky about the website specifically a little bit earlier today, and he was saying the reason he thinks they did, and Sky worked for Google and has a lot of insights.
He'll have a lot of insight here too.
Was saying that for SEO reasons. So they had to add more features to the site, more photos, more video, more things like that in order for SEO and kind of attracting new players in the...
This is the ability for
search engine optimization.
For search engines to go and find
to go and crawl
all the data.
And find, and when you put your search in, what comes back, and having Games Workshop come back more. But I don't think there was any issue with that ahead of time.
I don't buy it. I don't feel like that was the issue.
Yeah.
I think it's just a very poor redesign.
I think
it's unfortunate. I want it to be good because I go there all the time. You know?
I'm curious because I looking back at it, like I can't find fault with the existing site, the old site. Like
I wasn't a fan of it when it came out, but I could navigate through it.
Yeah, it made sense. It was logical. It was logical to existing players and to new players.
The one thing they have done that I've noticed is all the Forge World stuff that you can buy.
Yeah,
is here.
Yeah,
and shipping to your store is free for the Forge World stuff.
That integration is great.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
right?
I think that was a great idea. Yeah.
It's the only good idea I've seen on this site. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
It is. The one thing that really irks me is if I do a Google search, like, just going to type in whatever, Warlord Titan, something like that, right? And I find the Warhammer.com reference for that. I click on that. It defaults me to the UK page. Website.
Yeah.
So as soon as I click US to give me US pricing, shipping, etc., it eliminates whatever I had just searched for. So that whole search did absolutely nothing to get me.
It's not working out. They need to rethink this.
Right.
And I bet you they are. Like I don't doubt that there is a weekly, if not twice a week meeting where they're like, what the hell is going on?
There's no filter for what you've searched down. Right. Like you used to be able to this is show me chaos. Okay. Now here are all the different factions of chaos. Show me.
Right. Now it's just
corn.
Boom.
It's just,
and here's 100 pages of,
and you can't hit show all either. You have to keep hitting the show me more button.
I'm trying
18 times. Yeah.
And at first,
it's frustrating.
I just thought it's just me getting used to something new. But now that I've had a time, I'm like, nope, this is just bad.
I'm sure there's some of that, but it's mostly
bad.
All
right. Yeah. So specialist games.
Well, first, AdMech, Adeptus, Mechanicus, Combat Patrol box.
That's right. I cut you off before that.
Well, because we got carried away on the tangent of the lovely Stilt Bro.
Yeah. Oh God.
Okay.
I hate him so. Is he in the patrol box?
Do you know? I don't know, and I don't think so.
I would just not buy it based on.
I also hope not. That's not a great way for anybody to meet the game or the
Black Library comes out with God Machines, a Warhammer 40K omnibus all about Titans. Okay.
I'll actually have to pick that up.
I think I might too.
Check it out.
So then what happens?
All right. Well, then Legions Imperialis drops.
You don't have to read this whole list. There is a list.
I'm going to read the list.
No, don't do that to our listeners.
Yeah, so we have the starter box, the rule book, the army cards.
All the Titans get reboxed and released.
All the things we've been waiting for, except for Warhounds. Warhounds are not yet re-released.
Or the Iconoclast, what's it called? The Warbringer? No. What's the bigger one than the Warlord?
The War Master.
The War Master is not out.
It'll be part of the reboxing.
Yeah. So I'm just saying it hasn't come out yet.
We've known for months now that these were coming out. We've all suspected that they were just getting reboxed and rebranded for Legions Imperialis because they do work for both games seamlessly, and that was proven to be correct. A really cool thing I will mention on the Titans of these is the Titans now contain terminals and cards for the Titans that you buy. Historically, you've always had to get those separately, either in a terminal set or a card set. Now, the model that you buy should be a complete experience for
Is
Titanicus.
the terminal the thinner paper terminal?
I can only assume it is, which is unfortunate, but the slightly scaled down version too, to actually be able to fit in the box.
I actually like the scaled down versions better anyway.
I've got all the thick cardstock stuff that has the holes for.
I do too, but I have some of the smaller ones and some of the bigger.
The scale down is fine, but I'm all in for that. So
all right. And a bunch of the Aeronautica stuff gets re-released.
Yeah, everything reboxed for Aeronautica. That was, again, the only thing that exists for Aeronautica now is Horus Heresy specific.
Did you see? I don't know if you read my notes, but for those at home, I'm going on everything starts with Legion Imperialis, rulebook, starter box, Legion, Astartes Infantry, Solar
Knights and Titans reboxing.
Yeah, and then finally, OFFS, all Knights and Titans reboxed and re-released.
You didn't list them out. Wow, you really cut some corners there.
You know what is really cool?
Yes,
is
Legions Imperialis,
the Civitas Imperialis ruins.
Yes.
Now the city stuff has all been released before for Titanicus, but the ruins are out, and the plates for the ground. What am I trying to say?
The road tiles.
The road tiles.
Yeah.
Those are really cool.
Really cool. They are unfortunately expensive, and you need lots of them in order to put a table together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't done the U.S. conversion. Because I keep seeing everybody talk about this in pounds, but it's like 280 pounds to put a table together.
I'm going to talk to our friends over at Table War and see what they have.
They do have Titanicus maps.
Yeah.
They have a 4x4 and a 4x6.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that Legion Imperialis standard size is a 4x5. So I'm curious.
You know what? 4x6, cut it.
Yeah. And I'm tempted to do exactly that, or just get the 4x6 for larger games.
4x5?
It is 4x5. Which I think makes sense. And all the missions are laid out for that because the objectives are very specific on placement. So 4x5 table does make more sense for that. But so this is really everything. Everything in the starter box. It's a massive release. It's a huge release. It's a brand new game.
Yeah.
30 years later. So it's everything that needs to release for the game. There's obviously going to be more coming up for in the future, but this is a huge release.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Super excited. I didn't want to do it, Josh, but you got me.
My excitement was contagious. It's having read the rules a couple times over now, having built the models, having started painting a lot of them. Like I'm so thrilled to be here.
They look great. Like the detail on those rhinos is incredible.
They're a joy. They're a joy to paint. And the word, like we have our little chat group, like the word we all keep coming on, they're just adorable. Like saying something grimdark and 30K, 40K, whatever is adorable is kind of a funny juxtaposition, but it absolutely is. And
careful, it'll be.
And I'm here for it.
Chibi 40K. What's this Necromunda stuff down here?
So we get the Ash Waste Outpost Terrain. This is a rebox set of what came in the Ash Waste box itself.
There's two above that.
What else we got? Ironhead Squat Prospector, Ash Waste Vehicle. Oh, this is a crazy vehicle. This is actually a resin vehicle.
Yeah.
It looks like a submarine on a tank, like got together and made a baby.
Adorable.
It is a monster. Like that is a huge chunk of resin.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. I like the aesthetic. It's very squat aesthetic, which is hard to beat there.
It's hard to do it and make it look like actually something and not just something stupid.
Yeah.
And it actually looks pretty cool.
And I think it looks like a mining vehicle, and it has the squat aesthetic really well represented there. So we also get Ashungar, the Lady of the Ash. This is Ash Waste Nomad.
Yeah.
Her Grapplehawk familiar. Yeah.
Terror Shadow.
All the
I gotta get this.
You've picked up the Stormcaller for Ash Waste, right?
Yeah.
So the guy that we mentioned earlier. I'm blanking on the name now, but he came with a really cool kind of like combat bug. That thing is absolutely awesome, rules wise and aesthetically. Like, should definitely add that to your gang. And like, she's going to be probably cool to have also.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that they have like these like pets and animals that they're kind of, I think it's a cool,
they're not going to get a vehicle, but they're going to have these really cool other options. And like the Stormcaller actually gets to modify how visibility and the sandstorms work in that. Like they play very differently, but I think in a really thematic way. So
interesting.
So that's pretty cool. And then we get the Dalak Rogue Dock and Gang Lookout release. Really cool. The Gang Lookout looks kind of like a generic Dalak ganger, which is fitting.
The Rogue Dock.
The Rogue Dock is awesome. I'm definitely going to be picking this up for my Dalak gang. Then we get the Dalak Ashways upgrade. These have kind of funny helmets because Dalak don't like sunshine. So they are actually like fully encased helmets, not just like a different rebreather mask, which I don't love the aesthetic personally, but I'm at this rate mostly going to be
you're in though.
I'm going to probably be playing my Enforcers unless Dalak actually get their own vehicles for Ashways.
Right. Gotcha.
And then we get the Dalak vehicle, gang tactics cards, and a reprint of the gang tactics cards. Again, these are vehicle specific. And this is what has led me to believe that Dalak probably won't be getting their own vehicle because historically the gang tactics cards, vehicle tactic cards, and upgrade kits have been coming with the release of a vehicle for those gangs, and we are not seeing that here. So we'll see. We'll see if Dalak get anything or not. They do have access to vehicles just through the custom vehicle rules or some of the kind of generic, like all the Gene Stealer Cult type vehicles. Dalak have access to. They did just at this rate are not getting their own kind of unique one to themselves. Then we get the Necromunda Apocrypha Necromunda.
Apocrypha
Necromunda.
Yeah.
And this is a collection of out of print, updated, brand new rules, etc. And this is more campaign specific. So if you're the Arbiter, like I might pick this up, but I'm probably going to pick up the Secession books first before jumping into this because I have so many Necromunda books at this point. The Palanite Enforcers.
This is the vehicle you were talking about.
Taros Venator. This is the old Elysian drop troop Taros vehicle that used to be in Forge World resin. This is now a new plastic kit for Enforcers specifically. It's a really cool look. I've always loved the aesthetic. I've almost picked this up multiple times in the resin version just to do something interesting with it.
There was a mission that went along with that that the Imperial Armor. I want to say it's the Orc one, where you had those vehicles racing and like the board would move, like you would move the board in sections and like things would come at you and you'd have to.
Ashways has missions that does that.
I know.
So I bet you
that's where they got
partially inspired by that for sure. Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I've already pre-ordered this, super excited for it. It's been an expensive month for me with Legions Imperialis, Necron Codex, and the Enforcers dropping here. And then last but not least, we have the Horus Heresy Thousand Suns console.
Who looks pretty cool.
And I think they've done a really nice job.
Yeah,
with this. We talked
cool.
about earlier about not really liking the Librarian console. Yeah. This is the Thousand Suns Librarian console, and I think they've done a fantastic job.
I might be a bit jaded.
Yeah. Well,
or a bit biased,
I'm not biased.
I should say.
I'm not biased. Yeah. We don't like Thousand Suns.
All right. Well, we had a couple tangents there.
Yeah.
I think they were good ones.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I could have waited till the end of the episode and talked about them there, but let's do this. Let's take a short break. We're going to come back and then we'll close out the show.
Sounds great.
All right. And we're back. We're closing out episode 229.
And 2023.
Thank God. I mean, 2023 has been a rough year.
It's been a roller coaster. Yeah.
Not just, 40K stuff's been great and all that, but like personally, it's been a rough year, I think, for us. But 2024, we can hope it'll get better. I'm sure it will. And I'm super bummed. Well, as you know, we lost Doug this year.
Yeah.
And then we just lost Andre Brower, the actor, the captain,
9-9.
Captain from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, one of my favorite characters in any sitcom ever, and just an amazing actor. And man, it's just I just hate getting older. As you get older, it's just like more and more things around you are falling apart.
More and more funerals.
You're falling apart. But what a year in terms of releases. Holy smokes. I didn't see the Legions Imperialis thing coming. Like
you should have.
I guess, in retrospect,
I got lucky because going into Aeronautic Imperialis, I was like, oh, I'm specifically going to focus on marine stuff. So, and honestly, the only reason I bought that stuff initially was because I thought it would be cool terrain, or I'd write my own narrative scenarios to incorporate those planes into Titanicus. So the fact that I was able to kind of bring Thousand Suns and Stowe BX, and now Legions Imperials has dropped, and I'm just all in for Thousand Suns on that.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and I honestly, like, I was never particularly interested in Epic, but your excitement and everybody else's excitement around it, it's contagious, and it got me kind of like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing I've been telling people, and I tell them this with Adeptus Titanicus too, is, it's like, oh, I really want to get into this. I go, okay, is anybody in your area getting into it? If the answer is no, probably don't do it unless you're about to build up 2 armies and walk people through it.
Yeah.
And try to get them hooked. But other than that, skip it, unless you've got a group of people. And this is why I started Warhammer 40K to begin with.
Right.
Like when I was looking at games, it was, if I'm our D&D group, people are having kids and not able to make it, and I need something I can do with just one other person. And the most popular game I knew of in the miniature war game thing was Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
And so I knew I'd always be able to find another person to play if I needed to. And
still true.
Yeah, it's still true. I mean, it holds true. I've been playing now 14 or 15 years, which is short time compared to some people, but a long time compared to some. I mean, as we were just talking, somebody's like, I just got into it at the end of,
end of 8th
or 8th or whatever it was. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't even think about it.
So much has changed.
Yeah. So, so anyway, what a year, both good and bad. And
it's been a year.
It's been a year. We could chalk up another year. And next year, I think it's going to be even crazier in terms of releases. Like I remember thinking back 4 or 5 years ago and talking to people at Games Workshop at Warhammer World and saying, it's a crazy amount of stuff that came out last year. They go, you have no idea how much stuff is about to come out.
Yeah.
And they were just like, you are not going to be able to keep up with it.
I'll say, and you and I were talking about this off air, but I think I've been able to keep up with the games that I've cared about for the, last 5 years, especially, let's say. And I feel like for the first time, that's really true that like, I can't keep up with everything. So I'm becoming more and more selective.
I'm becoming focused.
The games that I really care about, really passionate about, the projects I am.
For me, that's 40K, Necromunda, Adeptus Titanicus, and now this Legion Imperialis. And honestly, everything else, and I wrap Kill Team into like 40K. I mean, I have the stuff to play it, so it's not I don't see it as a separate game.
Even that, honestly, I'm
just
less
not
excited for Kill Team.
I used to play more of it, and now I'm more like, no, I'll play a full game. With my time. I mean, that's down on the list of priorities.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you there. I like Age of Sigmar. We were playing it for a little bit. I like it. I mean, I think it's cool. I got too many other things to focus on.
Yeah. And fewer people were playing that. The games that I was playing tended to be more one-sided. Yeah. So like there's a reason I
have a ton of Battlefleet Gothic stuff. I know there's a group playing Battlefleet Gothic, and I'm just like, I'm not going to do it. I just don't have, I got a limit.
We did a big game day. This was, I don't know, it must have been 8 months ago or something like that, which was super fun, and haven't played it since, and that's fine.
I gotta say that's a dated game system as well.
It is, yeah.
Like super. Like I know people are like, oh, it was the best, and I'm like, have you played it lately? No, you have rose-colored goggles on there.
It's super dated. Some modern game design could do a lot with that, and if it does a re-release, like it'll be great. But
I'm sure it will if they look at like stuff Firestorm Armada did and that kind of stuff. Yeah, which that was a great game system, but. We played one game of that after I got everybody to buy fleets. I have a fully painted fleet. I won't get rid of just because I fully painted it and I think it looks cool.
I've got, Drop Fleet Commander, also a great fleet game that Me and
just
Brian
not playing
played
it.
a handful of games, but nobody else did.
So yeah, I mean, that's our focus. And I mean, it's always going to be 40K focused. And that's, I mean, the nature of this channel as well is, you know, we're focused on 40K, you know.
That's why
Jeff wanted
we're
to
here.
branch out into board games and all this stuff at one point. And I was like, that's not what our audience is here for.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if it's in the 40K realm, including Rogue Trader video games and tabletop role playing games, you know, we'll be talking about it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, it's a long episode. It's a long episode, but there was a lot to cover.
It's a lot of releases. Yeah.
I'm sorry AJ couldn't make it. I think we would have had a voice of dissension on a few things here. It would have been nice, but we'll listen. If you want to leave us feedback, and we've been joking the whole time about Josh and I agreeing on everything, and the fact is, we do agree on a lot, and that's probably why we're good friends and get along and have fun. That being said, somebody gave us feedback that said, you know, it was great when Jeff was there or Zach was there or somebody or Justin or even Adon. Adon can't join us anymore. He's working for Games Workshop. So tough.
Yeah.
I actually really wanted him to join because there's something, he went to the Grand Narrative event. Right, I would have loved to have heard his specific perspective on that, but he can't join. So, you know, that being the case, you know, we got some feedback that was like, hey, we'd love to see somebody who's not necessarily always in agreement. And I agree. I agree with that person. Yeah. I think that makes for interesting discussion.
Yeah, we've both already independently been thinking the same thing. So like it's good to hear. And we do appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. But you know, we will bring in some other guests as appropriate who are not going to agree with us and like the stilt guy.
Yeah. Maybe.
That might be hard to find, but we'll do our
maybe question.
I wonder how Colin feels about the stilt guy.
He loves it.
No, he does not.
You know, Jody probably loves it.
I'll bet you.
I bet you he does.
That's the kind of thing Jody likes.
Yeah.
Goofy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. He picked Call for one of his pinnacles of plastic.
That's true.
Call. Come on.
That's a pretty good model.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, we will see you at the new year. The episode will not release January 1st. I will tell you that right now. Probably within the first week or so of January as we figure out scheduling and all that. That's
episode 230, obviously. You're already listening to this one.
Yeah, you'll already be listening to this one. And episode 230 will drop in the first week or so of January after the holidays and after we get all that stuff taken care of. So in the meantime, I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating. There's something that Travis and Blake and Ed are going to do. It's like
Festivus?
No, it's not Festivus, but it's something along those lines. Okay. It's a podcast they listen to, and there's some holiday they've made up where it's just friends go hang out between the holidays. I thought, that's a great idea. Yeah. That's a great idea. So, but we will see you in the new year. We got a lot of content that we want to cover. We got a lot more with this Legion Imperialis. So, so expect to hear from us there. You got anything you want to say towards the end of the year?
Yeah, just say it's been a great year bringing the show back. Thanks for bringing me on board.
Do it on video.
More regular. Yeah, the video. Thanks to everyone who has given us a subscribe or liked our videos or commented on them. Checking out that format. It's a pretty high rate of everybody who has taken the time to watch them. Obviously, they're longer shows because of the longer episodes. But everybody who has taken the time to watch them has really liked what the format adds to the equation. Yeah. With just being so much more visual and our reactions, our laughter, things like that, seeing our faces.
Let me ask you this. What has been your favorite episode that we have done this year since we came back? And I'll let you think about that while I tell you about mine.
Yeah.
I think mine was the game show episode, and it had such a video component to it. I know it did. Yeah. And I know it wasn't great as an audio format. And we'll figure out what we're going to do about that. But maybe those just get released on video. But
I think that's
I had fun doing it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It was fun making it, and our guests were fantastic. Our first guests were amazing, and I thought the games were fun. And silly.
all the feedback we've gotten that is people want more of it.
Yeah, so.
But I think we tie those to just video specific episodes versus a full show episode. And I think you'll definitely see more of those next year.
Yeah.
And years to come. It's hard for me. Like we've done a lot of things that I've been very passionate about. So like the Dalok Under Hive coverage was super fun.
Yeah.
Bringing kind of Dalok and the Cthulhu vibes of that to life. It's just so kind of me as a core gamer.
Yeah.
That was a really great time for me. Hard to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, when we come back in the new year, I'm going to ask you this question again. So give it some thought.
All right.
Anyway, until next time, this is Carl.
This is Josh.
And we're coming to you from the Astronomicon, where my wallet can't handle this anymore.
That's fair. And where you have to make choices of which scale you might play or just go for it.
Okay. All right. Have a great new year. We will see you in 2024.
This episode of The Independent Characters is protected by the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find information on the front page at theindependentcharacters.com.